Part 22. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 212. The domineering president and his little girlfriend, Song Ziona, couldn't help but laugh. Hearing what she said, Huo Lily and Cao Xiaoqian also laughed, but Zhou Ziyu did not laugh. It's indeed quite similar, but Li Jie is not overbearing enough, Huo Lily said with a smile and nodded. By the way, isn't Ziyu's boyfriend also a president? Is he domineering enough? Song Ziona looked at Zhou Ziyu with a smile. Ziyu, when will you let us meet your mysterious boyfriend? Huo Lily also asked with a smile. Zhou Ziyu glanced at them, said nothing, and just smiled. The next day, at around 9 a.m., Li Jike and Xiao Qiao came to the company together. Yesterday, the game was launched with great success. Li Jie looked calm on the surface, but actually he was a little excited in his heart. He was just an ordinary person with some money before, but after the success of the game, as the boss of a powerful game company, he finally gained some social status. So, when he and Xiao Qiao celebrated last night, they played a little crazy. Restrained, Li Jie sighed softly. If you work hard like this every day, you will die sooner or later. Hubby, what are you talking about? Xiao Qiao yawned, his face was full of exhaustion, as if he had not had a good rest. Nothing, Li Jie smiled. Mr. Li, Zhao Jia came over at this time. Yesterday, the first day the game was launched, the total turnover was 1.17 million, and the number of registered users has reached more than 530,000. Today we expect to open 15 more groups of servers. At 9 o'clock, 5 groups have been opened, she reported to Li Jie. Let's talk about the game. Li Jie nodded, indicating that he understood. Senior sister, inform manager Yu and the heads of various departments to hold a meeting together at 10 o'clock. After Zhao Jia left, Lu Kaiyu came over again. She worked overtime too late last night. Instead of going back to school, she went back to the company dormitory with Songkir and the others. Mr. Li, an editor wants to interview you. Interview me? Li Jie was stunned for a moment. He knew that after the game became popular, it would definitely attract the attention of all parties, but someone came to interview him so soon? He is the editor of a game review website. After listening to Lu Kaiyu's explanation, Li Jie understood that it was not a door-to-door interview, but an online interview with the editor of a game review website. He only needed to chat with the other party on QQ and answer a few questions. Okay, Li Jie agreed without hesitation. Although it is just a small soft article interview, it has a somewhat promotional effect on the game. What's more, both the company and the individual are in urgent need of expanding their influence. Only when a company is famous can it get more support and development opportunities. When a person is famous, he can be taken more seriously when doing things and discussing cooperation. Therefore, as long as it is beneficial to publicity interviews, no matter how big or small, he will accept them all. Li Jie chatted online with the editor of the game review website, and talked about the original intention of making games, the arduous process of game development, etc. Of course, a lot of the rhetoric is made up. It's a small browser game, and it's not short of money. It's easy to make, so there's no hard work involved. However, this is also a common packaging routine for successful people. No matter how they started their business, they will make up stories to beautify and whitewash themselves when being interviewed for publicity. Compared to many successful people with shady foundations, Li Jie started his business with clean funds and is not afraid of others checking at all. After chatting for more than 20 minutes, this simple interview is over. Li Jie looked at the time and found that it was almost 10 o'clock, so he went to the conference room with Xiao Qiao. In addition to Zhao Jia and Yu Zhongfeng, there were also several supervisors from various departments attending this meeting, a total of 9 people. Li Jie first looked at Yu Zhongfeng, Yu Gong, Your R/U0026D department will make a small client for Duntuntang as soon as possible. Client, Yu Zhongfeng was a little surprised. He didn't expect Li Jie to say this first. Web games generally do not require downloading a client. You can play them as long as you open the web page, so they are called web games. There is no need to download the client, which is also a major advantage of web games. It is convenient and fast. Just make a small client with more than 30 MB in the future. We will use this small client as the basis to build a game platform. When Li Jie said this, he paused and looked at everyone. I said before that we can't always rely on the school network for the promotion of the game. Duntuntang has become popular. Do you think they what's next? Play a game, Zhao Jia said immediately. Xiaonei.com will cooperate with us mainly to test the waters with our games and see how users react. Now that our games are popular, they will definitely make games next to generate revenue and expand users, she continued. Analysis said. Li Jie nodded to her. Yes, they will definitely make games. Online games and web games require a certain amount of development time and are not easy to make, but small games like that can be made in a few days or a week. I believe it will be online soon. When they have their own games on their platform, they won't be as dedicated to promoting our Duntuntang as they are now, so when we launch several games in the future, we will have to have our own game platform. How many games? Yu Zhongfeng perked up as soon as he heard this. Mr. Li, are we going to make a new game? Yes, Li Jie glanced at him. Duntuntang is successful, but our company cannot rely on just one game, so the production of new games must also be put on the agenda. Now that we have abundant funds, I plan to produce 3 games at the same time, namely the Q version of the Tower Defense 3 Kingdoms theme Tower Defense 3 Kingdoms, the Q version of the Fairy Tale Dungeon theme The Way of the Gods, and the Magical Adventure theme Divine Comedy. Mr. Li, are these 3 games still web games? Yu Zhongfeng asked. It is a web game. The production time of web games is short, the difficulty is low, the cost is low, and the return rate is not small. Therefore, the company will mainly focus on web games in the early stage. When it is stronger, it will consider producing large-scale online games. After speaking, Li Jie asked Xiao Jiao to distribute the game production plan to everyone present. The game Tower Defense 3 Kingdoms was produced by a small team of several people in the previous life. It was spotted by Penguin Games and pushed hard, achieving a monthly revenue of tens of millions. This game is essentially a lottery-based money-making game disguised as Tower Defense and the 3 Kingdoms, with a strong ability to attract money. As for The Way of the Gods and the Divine Comedy, they were also popular web games in their previous life. The Way of the Gods has received excellent word-of-mouth reviews, while the Divine Comedy is very popular in overseas markets, including Europe, America, and Southeast Asia. Of the 3 game planning documents, Li Jie wrote the most detailed version of Tower Defense 3 Kingdoms. The settings and gameplay of the game were basically written down, because he had actually played this game for half a year, and he was the most impressed and knowledgeable about it. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanjie. Chapter 213. Li Jie has only played The Way of the Immortals and the Divine Comedy a few times. After so many years, he can't remember the specific content, so the planning book only contains a general idea. After reading the plan, Zhao Jia and Yu Zhongfeng had no objections. After such a long time, both of them were convinced of Li Jie, not to mention that the creativity of these 3 games is indeed relatively unique and novel. Mr. Li, if we produce 3 games at the same time, the R/U0026D department will definitely not have enough manpower, Yu Zhongfeng said. If you don't have enough, hire people, Li Jie said without hesitation. Now that we are not short of funds, your R/U0026D department should try to recruit as many people as possible. It would be better to have more people idle than to have less people. Yu Zhongfeng nodded. indicating that he understood. Then he said, "Mr. Li, Hongcheng is still too backward. It is difficult to recruit suitable developers, even fewer with good technology. For the better development of the company, I suggest that the company be moved back to Shanghai as soon as possible." Zhao Jia glanced at Yu Zhongfeng and said, "Mr. Li, I think Manager Yu is right. The company's development in Hongcheng is too limited. I also suggest that the company be moved to Shanghai as soon as possible. Hongcheng is indeed a relatively backward place. The internet industry is almost zero. The only one that can make some money now is a chess and card game company. At present, Qwen Technology can be regarded as the first powerful internet company in Hongcheng." After listening to what the two people said, Li Jie thought for a while and said, "It is really not suitable for the company to stay in Hongcheng any longer. Let's do this, Manager Yu, you leave a few game maintenance staff, and then lead the R/U0026D department to move back to Shanghai. The company will expand its manpower to develop new games locally, and other employees of the company will gradually move there in batches before the second game is launched." At first, Li Jie set up the company in Hongcheng mainly for the convenience of management. After all, he went to school here. But now that the company is established and has a strong position, even if Li Jie doesn't go to class, the school will not care about him, and he will still be a well-known alumnus after graduation. He can definitely fly back and forth from Hongcheng to Shanghai. When Yu Zhongfeng heard that Li Jie had agreed to move the company, his face suddenly showed joy. "Okay, I understand, Mr. Li. Manager Yu, can your R/U0026D department produce the game Tower Defense 3 Kingdoms in 2 months? Li Jie asked Yu Zhongfeng again. Tower Defense 3 Kingdoms is actually a standalone game that allows you to draw cards and swipe pictures online with other players. The production difficulty is among the simplest among web games. Yu Zhongfeng thought for a while and said, "This game is not difficult. It does not take 2 months. If there are enough manpower, it can be made in about a month." "Okay, then the R/U0026D department will give priority to producing this game and get the game online as soon as possible," Li Jie nodded. After talking to Yu Zhongfeng, Li Jie said to Zhao Jia, "Senior sister, your marketing department will also have a very heavy task next. Next, we will conduct comprehensive publicity and promotion of Dandantang online and offline. The online and offline promotion plan Li Jie mentioned is to promote the game online on game review websites, forums, post bars, novels, video websites, social platforms, portals, etc., across the entire network. Offline, posters and leaflets are posted in universities and internet cafes in major cities across the country for publicity." After listening to Li Jie talk about the publicity and promotion plan, Zhao Jia said, "Mr. Li, such a large-scale publicity and promotion online and offline will cost a lot of money. The company will first spend 5 million in promotional expenses, 3 million online, 2 million offline, and then add more depending on the situation," Li Jie said. "If you want to make a game popular, you can't afford to invest in publicity. Blue Moon has a maximum monthly revenue of 500 million and a cumulative revenue of 4 billion. It relies on brainwashing propaganda bombarded by the entire network." Hello everyone, I am Zhazawai. I guess everyone who surfs the internet has heard this sentence. To be honest, Li Jie has really thought about making a legendary nostalgic web game similar to Playful Blue Moon. The cumulative turnover is 4 billion. Even after deducting the accounts, taxes, and a lot of publicity costs, you can still get 7 to 8 billion. But when he thought about being accused in the future of being the boss who cheated money by making rubbish games, Li Jie couldn't help but feel ashamed. He still had to keep some integrity. After the meeting, Li Jie drove Xiao Jiao and left the company. He still has to go back to school because the crew is still waiting for him to film. The next 10 days will be Li Jie's busiest days. After Dandantang became popular, Qwen Technology became somewhat famous in the industry, and also became famous in Hongcheng, especially in the high-tech development zone. So all kinds of interviews, invitations, and cooperations came one after another. First, major game operating platforms came to Qwen Technology to discuss cooperation and negotiate for joint operation of Duntuntang. Li Jie refused to accept anyone who came, and within a week, he signed cooperation agreements with 7 or 8 game operators. If you want to make Dandantang a popular game all over the internet, you can't do it by relying on Qwen Technology alone. Only by cooperating with major game operators can you occupy the market as soon as possible and expand the popularity of the game. Influence. Which popular web game doesn't have 2,000 to 3,000 servers on the entire network? Therefore, cooperation is truly a win-win situation. In addition, there are 5 or 6 internet media that interview Li Jie, including game forums, portals, etc. There is also an invitation from Pengcheng to a domestic web game exchange conference. If the company hadn't been too busy to leave, Li Jie would have really wanted to go to the exchange meeting and learn a lot. However, it doesn't matter if you didn't make it this time. In the future, there will be many cooperation and exchange meetings in the industry, and you won't even be able to attend. After learning that the game was popular, Hongcheng quickly responded. After all, this is the first internet company to be launched in Hongcheng. First, a newspaper came to interview, and then Hongcheng TV station also came. The high-tech zone management committee became even more anxious after learning that Qwen Technology was about to run away, relocate to the Shanghai Stock Exchange. Hongcheng High-Tech, Technological Development, Zone has been established for more than 10 years, but its development has not been good. With the support of policies, after a number of companies were relocated, there has been no follow-up, and development has basically stagnated. Hongcheng's economic scale is small, the market information environment is relatively closed, and the market is narrow, making it difficult for high-tech enterprises to develop. Just look at the environment near the high-tech zone. It is surrounded by wasteland, which is quite desolate. So after finally establishing a high-tech enterprise, it still needs to run. How can this be done? The leaders of the management committee talk to Li Jie every day, urging him to keep Qwen Technology in the development zone, and the development zone would definitely provide strong support. At first, Li Jie always pushed back and refused to agree, because as Zhao Jie and Yu Zhongfeng said, it is really difficult for Qwen Technology to develop if it stays in Hongcheng. Development is too restricted and nothing else can be done. It is said that the serious shortage of talents is fatal. But then he suddenly agreed happily and agreed to keep the branch in the development zone and not move out, including the game Duntuntang. Why did Li Jie agree? Because the management committee proposed that in addition to strong policy support, it would also provide 5 million yuan in support and development funds to Qwen Technology. In addition, the bank also agreed to provide Qwen Technology with a loan of 10 million yuan. Although the 15 million has to be repaid, the interest rate is extremely low. To Li Jie, it is just like using it in vain. In fact, Li Jie had no intention of moving the entire company from Hongcheng, at least the branch would not be cancelled until he graduated. So if you can get 15 million in support funds just by talking about the conditions, it's definitely a huge profit. The management committee is also very happy. What they value more is the popular game Dandantang. As long as the branch and this game stay in the development zone, the influence and large taxes they bring will be the success. Accepting various interviews, discussing cooperation with game operators, communicating with the management committee, managing the company, and following the progress of Dandantang, Li Jie is so busy that he has no time to go to school. By the way, he also has to write books and film movies. To be honest, Li Jie regretted starring in it himself. He's not even busy with the company's affairs, so how can he have time for filming? But the entire crew was waiting for him, and Li Jie had to find time to film. After more than 10 days, 3 more episodes of online dating things were filmed and uploaded to the internet. The first episode of Photo Scam has more than 1 million views on Tudo.com, and more than 1 million views on the entire internet. 10 million. This short drama became a complete hit online. In the video comment area, a large number of netizens urged for updates, hoping that the short drama could be updated faster. However, the actors and staff of the crew are mainly students, and they usually have to go to class, so they only have time to film from Friday to Sunday, so 3 to 4 episodes in 2 weeks is the limit. This short drama of 20 episodes is it takes 3 months to complete the shoot. After the online drama became popular on the internet, Tudo contacted Li Jie and wanted to co-produce an online drama with them. Several companies also wanted to insert pre-roll ads, and another company was looking for a crew to shoot advertisements. Li Jie declined the invitation from Tudo.com to film an online drama. He was so busy that he had no time to write scripts or prepare to film an online drama. He asked director Sing Boking to take over those few pre-roll advertisements. Although the money was not much, one advertisement only cost tens of thousands of yuan, but the total cost was hundreds of thousands. Not only did the shooting costs come back, but they also made some profits. As for the company looking for a crew to shoot an advertisement, it was actually a shampoo company that took a fancy to Sun Wanning's image and wanted to cast her in an advertisement. After discussing this matter with director Sing Boking and Sun Wanning, Li Jie took it over and asked the crew to stop filming for a week and shoot the commercial first. At first, Sun Wanning didn't want to accept the advertisement, but the money offered was too much, and the asking price was 100,000 yuan. Of course, this money does not belong to Sun Wanning, but to the entire crew. But as the advertising heroine, she can get half of the 50,000 yuan, and the remaining 50,000 yuan. As the director, Sing Boking gets 30,000 yuan, and the remaining 20,000 yuan. Assigned to the crew. The time has come in a blink of an eye, April 21st. After more than 10 days, the number of open servers of Duntuntang has reached 165. In the first week after the game is launched, 10-15 groups of servers will be opened every day. After a week, the server opening speed was slowed down, and 5 sets of servers were opened every day. In addition, 7 or 8 other game platforms that have cooperated with Qwen Technology have also opened more than 350 servers, bringing the number of servers on the entire Dandantang network to more than 500. The number of users on the entire network has reached more than 5 million, and Qwen Technology's monthly revenue is nearly 30 million. At noon on the 21st, just after Li Jie had signed an agency licensing contract for Dandantang with a game company from Vietnam called Vinagame, he received a call from his head teacher Yu Yong, saying that the school's principal Zhang wanted to see him. More than 10 days after Dandantang was launched, a Vietnamese game agent suddenly came to Li Jie to discuss cooperation. The boss of this company called Vinagame came to Qwen company with a translator, and the first thing he asked was, "Is this Dandantang, instead of Qwen Technology?" Li Jie was extremely surprised that a Vietnamese game company suddenly came and said it wanted to represent Dandantang. How long did it take for the reputation of Duntuntang to spread abroad? Besides, are there any well-known game companies in Vietnam? So he asked people in the industry to find out more, and then he realized that Vinagame was really a very powerful company. This company's status in Vietnam is equivalent to Zalen and Penguin and Shinda. It not only operates a portal but also develops chat tools and operates online games. The status of Qwen company in China is completely incomparable with others. Although the popularity of Dandantang made Qwen Technology famous in the industry, it is still only a small game company with some strength. This Vinagame company has dedicated people in China who are responsible for finding new games on the internet every day, and then hand them over to the headquarters for screening, which is why the other party noticed Dandantang so quickly. The boss of Vina Game Company proposed to Li Jie that he would buy out the agency rights of Dan Dan Tang in Vietnam for 5 million. But Li Jie didn't agree. He didn't know whether the agency rights for Dan Dan Tang had been sold in Vietnam in his previous life, and he didn't know whether the game would be popular after it was launched. But he only knew that a one-shot deal wouldn't work. 5 million is a lot less, but a lot is not much. It's just a fun company, just more than 10 days of profit. It's better not to use this money and use the Vietnamese market to test the overseas response of Dan Dan Tang. If it becomes popular, it will be a big profit. If it is not popular, it will only lose more than 4 million. So Li Jie proposed a copyright fee of 300,000 at 25% share. The boss of Vina Game Company saw that Li Jie firmly refused to agree to the buyout, so he could only agree to share the profits. But he thought the share was too high and was only willing to give an 18% share, but the copyright fee was increased to 1 million. When Li Jie saw that the other party would rather increase the copyright fee than agree to a high share, he immediately understood that the other party was very optimistic about Dan Dan Tang, and he was even more unwilling to give in easily. The two parties negotiated repeatedly for 3 or 4 days, and the agency conditions finally agreed upon were 800,000 royalties at 20% share. This share is still a bit low, but the boss of Vina Game is very shrewd. When the 20% share is stuck, he would rather collapse the cooperation than add a little more. After thinking about it, Li Jie agreed. After all, this was the first overseas agency authorization for Dan Dan Tang. If the game became really popular after it was launched in Vietnam, future overseas agency rights would be easier to sell. After signing the game agency contract, Li Jie invited Vina Game Company to have a meal at a nice hotel. This can be regarded as entertaining foreign guests. At the dinner table, I talked with the other party about the launch of Dan Dan Tang in Vietnam. The other party is also very urgent, saying that Dan Dan Tang will be launched within a month, hoping to get technical support from Fun Wan Company. Li Jie said that he would definitely provide the greatest technical support. In terms of operations, he will definitely not hold back the other party. After all, this is a share-sharing agency. The more popular Dan Dan Tang operates in Vietnam, the more revenue Quan Company will get. After finishing the meal and seeing off the boss of Vina Game Company, Li Jie drove back to school. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuen Jet. Chapter 214. Back at school, Li Jie first went to the office to meet with his head teacher, Yu Yang, and then went with him to the administration building to meet with Vice Principal Zhang. Principal Zhang is the executive vice principal of the school, responsible for the daily affairs of the school and overseeing all aspects of school affairs. Principal Zhang's attitude towards Li Jie was very warm and polite. He first asked him about some things about his life and study, as well as his feelings about the school, and then asked him carefully about his entrepreneurial experience. After listening carefully to Li Jie's speech, President Zhang highly praised his entrepreneurial passion and ideals, and affirmed his efforts and achievements in innovation and entrepreneurship. Finally, Principal Zhang said that the school would provide 1 million yuan to support and encourage his innovation and entrepreneurship. Li Jie's application form for innovation and entrepreneurship had already been submitted by Councillor Zhang Han for him. However, although the application for starting a business was approved, the support funds have not been approved. Now that the support fund has finally been approved, it is not the 500,000 yuan he applied for, but 1 million yuan, and 100,000 yuan of it is a free subsidy and does not need to be paid back. In fact, when Li Jie applied for college students to start a business, what he was interested in was not the support funds and subsidies, but the tax benefits for college students. Moreover, this is not a legal tax avoidance, but an encouragement of tax reduction, which is a national policy support and cannot be more legitimate and correct. Seeing that Principal Zhang had finished speaking, Li Jie said goodbye with a wink. However, Principal Zhang suddenly remembered something and stopped him. By the way, on the 28th, which is next Monday, the school will hold the 2007 Employment and Entrepreneurship Work Commendation Ceremony. Xiaojie, as an outstanding representative of entrepreneurship, you are going to speak. Remember to write a speech. After leaving the principal's office, Li Jie sent a message to Xiao Jiao and asked her to have dinner in the evening, and then returned to the dormitory. In the past 10 days, Li Jie was so busy that he not only had no time to have a private meeting with his young lover, but he also didn't even have much time to spend with Xiao Jiao. After all, he could skip school as he pleased and no one would care about him, but Xiao Jiao couldn't, she still had to attend class normally. So these days, the two of them don't meet much. On the way back to the dormitory, I could see promotional posters for Dandan Hall everywhere. The simultaneous online and offline publicity and promotion activities of Dandan Hall have already been launched. As Li Jie's alma mater, Normal University is the focus of publicity and promotion. And the publicity effect is also very good. More than 1/3 of the girls in the school are playing Dandan Tang. The Q version has cute characters, beautiful graphics, and strong playability, which makes Dandan Tang very popular among girls. In addition, the game was developed by students of this school, which makes the girls at the school feel more close to the game. There are also many boys playing Dandan Tang. After all, they all know that there are many girls in this game, and there are also many beautiful girls. When familiar classmates saw Li Jie, they would greet him enthusiastically, but Li Jie found that besides their enthusiasm, they were also a little polite and respectful. In fact, most students in the school have the impression that Li Jie has a rich family and is very talented. He not only published books but also made a lot of money by writing novels. But they were more envious, jealous, and a little admired of him, but they definitely had no respect for him. But when the news from Hongcheng TV station was broadcast and I saw on TV that Li Jie's company had become a star enterprise in Hongcheng and a key publicity target, I suddenly realized that Li Jie and them were no longer in the same world. They are still students and have to worry about finding a job after graduation, but Li Jie has successfully started a business and has become a star entrepreneur. Not to mention anything else, the 5 million entrepreneurial support fund is very shocking. When he returned to the dormitory, he saw his Hegang and Yang Hao both in the dormitory. Li Jie was a little surprised and said, "You two didn't go to class. It's only 3:40 now, and it's not time for school to end in the afternoon yet." "Jizi," his Hegang said in surprise when he saw Li Jie. "Brother Jie, you're back," Yang Hao said with a flattering smile. "Hurry up and sit down, and I'll pour you some water." After saying that, he very attentively pulled out a chair for Li Jie to sit down, and then took a disposable cup and gave him a glass of water. "Damn, Huzi, can you please stop being such a loser?" His Hegang couldn't stand it anymore. However, as soon as he finished teaching Yang Hao, he enthusiastically praised you and said, "Jizi, I saw you on the Hongcheng news, awesome class." The attitude is also a bit flattering and ingratiating. Li Jie was a little uncomfortable with their enthusiasm. "Huzi, be normal. Brother Gang, don't be exaggerated." He knew very well that the reason why Yang Hao was so flattering and humble was because he got a taste of the sweetness of filming. Starring in things about online dating not only made Yang Hao popular online, he became famous in school and made a lot of money. Although Li Jie gave very little filming subsidy, he distributed dividends to the crew. After receiving the pre-roll advertisement, Li Jie took out the remaining profit of more than 30,000 yuan after deducting the shooting costs and divided it among the crew. All the students who performed and helped received more or less money, and even the passerby characters also received some money. A leading actor like Yang Hao can get almost 1,500 to 6,000 yuan. As a staff member who helped in the play, he's Higang also received a little more than 1,000. For him to be so enthusiastic about Li Jie is also a bit short-handed with money. Brother Jie, I heard that you are still going to make movies, right? Yang Hao asked with a flattering smile. Jizi, if you make another movie, give me a role. It doesn't have to be a starring role, just a small role, Higang also said quickly. You should concentrate on filming those things about online dating first. The movie is still early. Li Jie looked at Higang and Yang Hao and suddenly realized that he now has the ability to change the fate of ordinary people. For example, if he gives Yang Hao a few more opportunities, with his talent, it is really possible for him to become a character actor. A character actor may be very inconspicuous in the entertainment industry, but for ordinary people, being famous and earning a high income is definitely an enviable job. The three of them sat together and chatted for a while. Li Jie listened to Higang and Yang Hao talking about recent events in the school. Higang glanced at Li Jie and said hesitantly, Jizi, can I also work part-time in your company? Li Jie smiled and said, Brother Gang, aren't you working part-time? For the offline promotion of Dandan Tang, putting up posters and distributing flyers, he found people he knew well, such as Higang and Yang Hao, as well as poor students in the class who were not in a good financial situation. Jizi, I'm not talking about jobs like putting up posters and handing out leaflets, but the kind of jobs where you can get some experience and learn something, Higang said seriously. Brother Gang, it's not that I won't help you, but you also know that I am a game company, so there is really no job that is suitable for you. If you go to my place, you can only work part-time as a GM or something. Li Jie was helpless. Said with a smile. I know this too. I'm a little forced, but... Higang sighed softly as he spoke, his expression a little gloomy. I feel that the gap between me and Menjian is getting wider and wider. Through playing Dandan Hall and filming, Higang had many more opportunities to interact with Huo Menjian, but he felt increasingly that the opportunities were slim. Needless to say, he himself felt that he was not worthy of Huo Menjian. And she is getting better and better. When watching Huo Menjian and Sun Wanning filming a commercial together, for a moment Higang really felt that she was as elusive as a star. Li Jie glanced at Higang and shook his head inwardly. He could see that Higang's mentality was obviously shrinking. You already regard the other person as a goddess in your heart, so you can't even think of chasing her. Higang originally had little hope of pursuing Huo Menjian, but now he has no hope at all. At this time, Yang Hao seemed to have thought of something, and said a little mysteriously, Brother Jie, did you know? Some of the beauty promoters under you are accompanying you. Play with me, Higang didn't understand. I just play Dandan Tang with boys online, have voice chats, and occasionally watch videos, Yang Hao said with a smile. After saying that, he glanced at Higang and said, I wonder if Huo Menjian is accompanying me. Hazi, don't talk nonsense. How could Menjian do such a thing? Higang became angry when he heard this and said with a pale face. Seeing that he was really angry, Yang Hao quickly smiled and said, Brother Gang, I'm joking, don't take it seriously. There was no look of surprise on Li Jie's face. He expected that sooner or later a girl would be interested in playing games with him, but he didn't expect it to be so soon. The official website of Dandan Tang has a ranking list of beautiful players, and the gameids and photos of 36 girls are on the list. Therefore, they can easily get the job of accompanying them, and even if they don't expect it, someone will definitely contact them in the game. Li Jie has no prejudice against girls playing games as companions. There is no shame in making money based on their looks and services. Just don't play with her in bed. However, it is definitely not okay for his girlfriend to play games with him. Hazi, you know so well because you have experienced it yourself. Have you ever hired a companion? Li Jie saw through this guy Yang Hao at a glance. Yang Hao chuckled, as far as I know, there are 2 girls doing it, one from our school and one from the aviation academy. The girl from the Aviation Academy is really beautiful, but the price is too expensive, costing 25 yuan each. Our. Hazi, can you please stop being so wretched? The girl just plays games with you, and you say it's like she's doing that. He's again complained. Brother Gang, if you hadn't thought wrongly, why would you think I'm vulgar? Yang Hao retorted with a smile. Li Jie watched He's Gang and Yang Hao teasing each other and realized that they were no longer on the same level as them. This does not mean that he feels superior to others and looks down on He's Gang and Yang Hao. It's that the things the two parties are in contact with are not on the same level. People who are not on the same level will have fewer and fewer interactions. The relationship between him and He's Gang will gradually become estranged, and it will be difficult for them to chat casually and talk nonsense like they are now. Jazzy, it's been a long time since we all got together. How about we have dinner together tonight? Let's talk about it. I want to have dinner with Xiao Jiao tonight. Li Jie declined with a smile. He had to find a way to find an opportunity to have a private meeting with his young lover in the evening, so he had no time to eat with these rough guys. Okay. Get out of class is about to end. I'm going to pick up Xiao Jiao in the teaching building, Li Jie said and stood up. Jazzy, you are such a perfect man. Every time I invite you to dinner, you have to accompany your girlfriend. He's Gang joked with a smile. Brother Jie is affectionate and dedicated, an absolutely good man, Yang Hao also said with a smile. A perfect man? Affectionate and dedicated? You will soon think so. Li Jie smiled, turned around and left the dormitory without saying anything else. The bell rang for the end of Get Out of Class, and Xiao Jiao, Bai Wei, and Zhang Kaiyan walked out of the classroom talking and laughing together, and went downstairs. Following the flow of people out of the teaching building, Zhang Kaiyan poked Xiao Jiao, who was joking with Bai Wei. Xiao Jiao. Xiao Jiao followed her gaze and saw Li Jie standing not far away with a smile on his face. She jogged 2 steps and came to Li Jie's side, with a look of surprise on her face. You're back. Xiao Jiao originally wanted to ask her husband to come, but there were too many people and she was a little embarrassed. Li Jie smiled and put his arm around her waist. I'll take you to dinner. Okay, Xiao Jiao smiled happily and nodded, completely forgetting about Bai Wei and Zhang Kaiyan. Looking at the two people showing off their affection not far away, Zhang Kaiyan pretended to be angry and said with a smile, Xiao Jiao, this guy values sex over friends. Bai Wei just smiled lightly and said nothing. The students who came out of the teaching building also turned their attention to Li Jie and Xiao Jiao. After appearing in the Hongcheng News at Kuan Company, Li Jie became an idol-like figure in the eyes of many students in the school, especially in the eyes of many girls. Zhou Ziu and Huo Lily walked out together and happened to see this scene. These two act like they are in an idol drama every day, Huo Lily said with a smile. After saying that, she wanted to say something more, but noticed that Tan Hui also walked out, so she stopped. When Tan Hui saw Li Jie and Xiao Jiao, she paused for a moment and then continued walking forward, but her steps became more hurried. Zhou Ziu glanced at Tan Hui, who was walking over, then looked at Li Jie and Xiao Jiao, then chuckled and said to Huo Lily, Lily, let's go too. After saying that, she left first. Li Jie and Xiao Jiao got on her small electric motorcycle together. Xiao Jiao sat in front, and Li Jie sat behind her, holding her slender waist tightly with his hands. The seat of the small electric motorcycle was a bit small, so he only squeezed in with Xiao Jiao. Let's go, Xiao Jiao said with a smile. The small electric motorcycle shuttled among the crowd of students, attracting waves of sideways glances. Riding on your girlfriend's scooter or your lover's car is the greatest enjoyment in life. Arriving at Minjai restaurant and going up to the second floor, Li Jie found a seat and sat down with Xiao Jiao. He picked up the menu and was about to order when his cell phone rang suddenly. Li Jie answered the phone, said a few words, and then hung up. Let's wait for a while, someone is coming. Who wants to come over? Xiao Jiao asked curiously. Shen Yu. 15 or 6 minutes later, Shen Yu, dressed beautifully in a long black dress, walked upstairs. Next to her was a quiet girl with a pair of black-rimmed glasses. Senior, Li Jie stood up and greeted Shen Yu with a smile. Li Jie, you are a very busy man now. I can't even see you once, Shen Yu said with a smile. After saying that, she introduced the girl next to her. This is Zhang Jing, a reporter from our school newspaper. She wants to give you a special interview. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 215. Hello, Li Jie smiled and nodded to Zhang Jing. Shen Yu had already told him on the phone that the school newspaper wanted to interview him. Hello, Jetta, Zhang Jing said quickly, looking honored. I've wanted to interview you for a long time, but I never had the chance. Jetta, Li Jie was stunned by this title. Li Jie, you are Xiaojing's idol, Shen Yu said with a smile. Jetta, you are so amazing. Write novels, film movies, start a business, there is nothing you can't do. Zhang Jing, you're flattered, Li Jie said with a smile. The two sides exchanged polite words. After sitting down, Zhang Jing took out a pen and notebook from her bag and started the interview. She asked very detailed questions, asking about everything from why Li Jie applied for Hongchen Normal University to his writing of novels, filming, and starting a business. Li Jie calmly answered every question raised by Zhang Jing. These days, he doesn't do much else but accept a lot of interviews, including interviews with various online media and offline interviews with newspapers and TV stations. Relatively speaking, a small interview for a school newspaper is really nothing. Listening to Zhang Jing's question, Li Jie's thoughts suddenly went astray. Maybe someone will publish a motivational book about him in the future, and what he said in interviews will be written into the book. After the interview, more than 40 minutes had passed. Zhang Jing checked the time and said apologetically, Jetta, I'm sorry for delaying your dinner with your girlfriend. Zhang Jing, senior sister, let's have dinner together, Li Jie said with a smile. No need, Zhang Jing declined with a smile. It's okay, let's eat together. Li Jie smiled and joked, just think that I bribed you. When you write the manuscript, just say a few nice words for me. Shen Yu also smiled and said, Xiao Jing, you don't have to be so polite. You see, I am not polite to him. Okay, seeing that Shen Yu said the same thing, Zhang Jing nodded and agreed. After finishing their meal, Shen Yu and Zhang Jing left first. Li Jie and Xiao Jiao walked out of Minjai restaurant together. Jiao Bao, there will be a commendation meeting for employment and entrepreneurship at school next Monday. Please come with me. Recognition meeting, Xiao Jiao knew as soon as he heard this that this kind of meeting would be boring. What am I going to do? I will speak on stage then, and you can have a taste of your husband's style, Li Jie said with a smile. Charm. How come I don't know what style you have, Xiao Jiao said with a pretending disdainful smile. Just tell me whether you're going or not, Li Jie put his arm around her slim waist. How about I go, Xiao Jiao said with a smile. Then I'll be tortured tonight, Li Jie said threateningly. What kind of punishment? You know. Then I won't go, Xiao Jiao said with a smile, looking exactly like I could only dream of. Li Jie. President, you can no longer play like this. The two were arguing for a while, and Xiao Jiao smiled and said, okay, I'll go with you. On the way back to the rental house, Li Jie took a look at Xiao Jiao, who was jumping for joy. The time was approaching, and it was time to confess to her. It's just that after becoming the president, it may be difficult to be as simple, happy, and carefree as now. Saturday the 26th. At noon, Zhou Ziyu and Huo Lily went to the cafeteria to eat together. When they passed the bulletin board, Huo Lily suddenly said, Hey, our boss has signed up as a colonel. What boss? Josiah didn't understand. That's Li Jie, Huo Lily said with a smile. Aren't we all working part-time under Li Jie, and everyone just calls him boss as a joke? When Josiah heard this, he walked closer to the bulletin board and looked at it. She is a little short-sighted and cannot see clearly from too far away. In the school newspaper on the bulletin board, the most conspicuous position is Li Jie's exclusive interview. Li Jie's meal was really not in vain. Zhang Jing praised him highly in the article. Josiah couldn't help but have a faint smile on his face after reading it, but Huo Lily was a little impatient and urged, "Tsuyu, let's go." Yeah, Josiah looked away from the bulletin board and nodded lightly. After Josiah and Huo Lily left, a tall boy came over and glanced at the back of Josiah as he left. Li Jie is so lucky. He got such a top quality product. When he thought of such a beautiful and sexy beauty being pressed down by Li Jie and manipulated wantonly, he felt unspeakable jealousy in his heart. The boy's eyes fell on the school newspaper on the bulletin board again, his eyes full of unwillingness and resentment. You say I'm a scumbag who works in two different ways. Are you the same guy? A new entrepreneurial star? An outstanding young man? Look what you can do. Look how I ruin your reputation. Monday the 28th. At 9 o'clock in the morning, in the lobby on the first floor of the studio building, the school held the 2007 Employment and Entrepreneurship Work Commendation Meeting to commend the advanced collectives and individuals in the employment and entrepreneurship work in 2007. Shuji, principal and vice principal attended the meeting. More than 300 people attended the meeting, including heads of the school's organization department, youth league committee, student affairs office and admissions and employment office, as well as deans, counselors, and student representatives of each college. At the meeting, Li Jie, as an outstanding representative among entrepreneurial students, took the stage and gave a speech. Seeing Li Jie standing on the stage, facing the leaders of the school, talking calmly and eloquently, Xiao Qiao, who was sitting in the audience, couldn't help but show admiration in his eyes. After finishing his speech, everyone applauded warmly. After the commendation meeting, Li Jie and Xiao Qiao walked out of the studio together. It's finally over, Xiao Qiao breathed a sigh of relief. This kind of meeting is really boring. The process basically consists of the leader's speech, the announcement of the commendation decision, the awarding of trophies and certificates, the speech of outstanding entrepreneurial representatives, and the leader's summary speech. The leader's speech lasted for more than 20 minutes. Xiao Qiao almost fell asleep listening to it. That is, when Li Jie came to the stage to speak, she regained consciousness for a while. Looking at her cute appearance, Li Jie couldn't help but smile. "Qiao Bao, please go home tonight. I have something to tell you." He made up his mind to confess to her tonight. "Okay," Xiao Qiao agreed with a smile. Then she asked, "What's going on? Can't you tell me now? Let's talk to you tonight." Li Jie smiled. He planned to lock the door of the rental house before confessing tonight. Xiao Qiao could not escape even if he decided to leave. In one night, he must convince her, even if he is really not convinced, he must put her to sleep. At around 6 o'clock in the evening, after Xiao Qiao played a few games of Dandan Tang with Bai Wei in the dormitory, he was ready to pack up and go back to the rental house. At this time, I heard someone shouting at the door, "Xiao Qiao, there is a boy downstairs looking for you." "Boy?" Xiao Qiao asked the girl outside the door. "Didn't he say who it was?" "No, he just asked me to call you," the girl said. "But he is quite tall and handsome." "Okay, I understand." Xiao Qiao was a little confused. Who was looking for her? Zhang Qiang on the side smiled and joked, "Is there a handsome guy who wants to confess to you? Be careful if Li Jie finds out and gets jealous." "Xiaoxian, don't talk nonsense." Xiao Qiao left the dormitory, went downstairs, and outside the dormitory building, she saw a tall boy standing not far away with his back to her. She walked over and asked tentatively, "Classmate, are you looking for me?" "Xiao Jiao, long time no see," the boy smiled and turned around. After seeing the boy's appearance clearly, Xiao Jiao's expression changed, turned around and left, not wanting to say a word to him. When the boy saw this, he couldn't help showing a look of resentment on his face, but he quickly returned to his original gentle smile, looked at Xiao Jiao leaving, and said something lightly. Xiao Jiao paused after hearing this, turned around, stared at the other person and said coldly, "Do you think I will believe it?" After saying that, she turned around and went back to the dormitory. The boy stood there, the smile on his face frozen. "I came to you with good intentions and told you the truth, but you don't believe me? You deserve to be deceived." Study room 406 on the 7th floor, He's Higeng is sitting in front of the computer playing Duntuntang. Seeing Huo Menjian's game account turn gray and offline, he felt empty and reluctant. Only when playing games with Huo Menjian can He's Higeng feel confident. He can lead Huo Menjian to defeat enemy players and win one victory after another, and she will praise his skills with some admiration. It's just that Huo Menjian doesn't play games very much recently. After playing part-time for an hour every night, she will go offline. She won't have a boyfriend, right? He's Higeng couldn't help but feel worried. At this time, Li Jie opened the curtain and got down from the bunk. "Jizi, are you going to exercise again?" He's Higeng noticed that Li Jie had changed into sportswear. He really admired Li Jie. No wonder he could succeed in anything he did. His perseverance was beyond the comparison of ordinary people. "As long as I live in the dormitory, I will exercise every day, rain or shine." Li Jie just nodded to He's Higeng and left the dormitory. Seeing that Li Jie was gone, He's Higeng focused on the game again, opened the mall, and bought a new special effects weapon. Most of the money he earned from helping on the crew and working part-time was put into the game. As usual, Li Jie left the school through the north gate and ran along the road for another 5 or 6 minutes before he saw the red Volvo C30 parked on the roadside. "Husband," Josio said happily after seeing Li Jie get into the car. Li Jie smiled, reached out and hugged his little lover into his arms, then lowered his head and kissed her moist and soft lips. The two hadn't had a private meeting for a while, and they were both a little excited. Josio hooked her hands around Li Jie's neck and responded enthusiastically to his kiss, her delicate body gently rubbing against him. But Li Jie rarely changed his gender tonight. He only made out with Josio for a while, then restrained himself and let her go. "Honey, let's go to the old place," Josio bit her lip, her charming face full of temptation. The old place she was talking about was a remote farmland, rarely visited by people, suitable for two people to drive freely together. "No," Li Jie smiled and hugged her tightly. "I have something to tell you." Josio buried her hand in his arms and said softly, but her voice sounded a little disappointed. This little lover of his is overthinking it. Thinking of this, Li Jie couldn't help but smile. However, he had been a bit neglectful of Josio during these days, and the number of private meetings between the two was very few. "After you convince Xiao Jiao, let's make it up to her." He must go all out tonight to convince Xiao Jiao. "Ziu, I'm going to confess our affairs to Xiao Jiao tonight." Josio was stunned when he heard this, looking very surprised. She really didn't expect that Li Jie would choose to speak out. Li Jie sighed lightly and said, "We can't hide it from her all the time." After a pause, he looked down at her in his arms and said softly, "Besides, I can't let you stay like this with no name or identity, hiding in hiding. I can't give you that certificate. I still need to be a girlfriend for you." "Husband," Josio's beautiful eyes were filled with mist, and she was obviously moved. "But what if Xiao Jiao can't accept it?" she calmed down and said a little worriedly. "The lover is worried about the main palace, and she has no one left." "I will definitely convince her," Li Jie's tone was firm. "By the way, if Xiao Jiao comes to find you, Just give her some space. He told Josio in advance to make her mentally prepared. Josio nodded lightly. Hubby, don't worry. Tsuyu, how about I send you to school in Shanghai? Li Jie thought for a while and asked. Going to Shanghai, Josio was a little surprised, but seemed to understand something. Yes, Li Jie nodded. I'll do it and transfer you to a university in Shanghai. The company will soon be relocated to Shanghai, and I will go to Shanghai frequently in the future. We can be together legitimately there. Josio immediately understood that Li Jie meant to separate her and Xiaoqiao, one in Shanghai and the other in Hongcheng. She is Li Jie's girlfriend in Shanghai, and Xiaoqiao is his girlfriend in Hongcheng. Okay, hubby, I listen to you, Josio said obediently. After thinking for a while, she said softly, husband, actually, I just don't have to go to school. Li Jie stroked her back gently. It's good for girls to read more books. Don't worry about the operation. I still have this energy. After hearing what he said, Josio said and said nothing more. Sending Josio to school in Shanghai was a decision Li Jie made after careful consideration. Even if he persuaded Xiaoqiao to acquiesce to Josio's existence. But it doesn't mean that she can tolerate her love rival hanging in front of her every day and being ambiguous in front of her. So the best way is to separate the two. When the love rival is far away, it is not so difficult to accept. Just as Li Jie was making plans in his mind, his cell phone rang suddenly. He took it out and found that it was Yang Hao calling. Hazi, what's the matter? Brother Jie, please go online and check it out. Someone is spreading rumors about you on the school forum. Yang Hao's anxious voice came from the other end of the phone. What rumors are being spread about me? Li Jie felt something in his heart and had a bad feeling. That is to say, you. Yang Hao's voice was a little hesitant. What did you say about me? Brother Jie, you are in two different situations. You are in love with Xiaoqiao, and at the same time you are hooking up with Josio, an English major. After speaking, Yang Hao paused and asked curiously in a low voice, Brother Jie, is this true? Li Jie didn't answer him and hung up the phone directly. Someone is deliberately teasing him behind his back. This was Li Jie's first reaction after hearing what Yang Hao said. The matter between him and Josio is very secretive. If someone hadn't been watching him, it would have been difficult to discover. Then who would hate him so much and deliberately try to punish him? The names of several people flashed through Li Jie's mind. Since his rebirth, he has been too sharp and a bit arrogant, and has offended some people to some extent. But there is only one person who is most suspicious, Song Chenjiao. Moreover, this guy is the deputy director of the Student Union Organization Department. It is not difficult to find someone to make a post popular on the forum. Wouldn't it be nice to just wait and see? If he insists on jumping out to cause trouble, it seems that he doesn't want to stay in school any longer. Husband, what's wrong? Josio asked concernedly when he saw that he hadn't spoken a word after answering the phone. Something happened. Someone exposed our relationship on the forum, Li Jie said calmly. To be honest, he really doesn't care about being exposed. If that boy Song Chenjiao thinks that exposing the matter will ruin his reputation, then he is really thinking too much. Even if the triangular scandal spreads throughout the school, what will happen? How could he care about these rumors now? This little scandal would not affect his career at all. For a man with a successful career, it would be abnormal not to have some scandals. Li Jie was just a little worried about Xiaoqiao. Since Song Chenjiao exposed the matter on the forum, he would definitely go to Xiaoqiao to reveal his true face. So we need to find Xiaoqiao quickly and comfort her. Honey, then go find Xiaoqiao. Josio heard Li Jie say that the relationship between the two was exposed, and she was a little at a loss for a moment, but she soon calmed down, knowing that the most important thing now is do what? It is expected that there will be rumors soon. Ziu, don't go back to school yet. Drive to the city to find a hotel to stay, and then take a few days off to avoid the limelight. Li Jie looked at her and told her. Once this kind of triangular scandal spreads, the most affected would be the third party who interferes with other people's feelings, so although Xiao Jiao's side is important, Zhou Ziu's side must also be arranged. If she were to stay in school, she would have to suffer many strange looks and rumors. Husband, don't worry about me. Xiao Jiao's side is more important. I will take care of it myself. You go find her quickly, Zhou Ziu urged. I know, Li Jie said and took out his mobile phone. I'll call Xiao Jiao first. Old, Li Jie, Zhou Ziu suddenly called him softly, her voice a little unusual. What's wrong? Li Jie felt a little strange that she changed her tune so suddenly. Xiao Jiao is here. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanjie. Chapter 216. Xiao Jiao is here. Zhou Ziu's voice was very soft, but Li Jie couldn't help but feel shocked when he heard it. He looked up and saw Xiao Jiao standing in front of the car staring at him. When he met Xiao Jiao's gaze, he felt an indescribable pain in his heart, as if he had been cut with a knife. Disappointment, sadness, heartache, heartbreak. Li Jie has never seen such a sad expression. A tear streaked down his cheek, and Xiao Jiao seemed to be about to collapse. Is this still the girl who loves to laugh so much, with a beautiful smile, as bright as a flower, lively and cute? At this moment, Li Jie felt indescribably sad and regretful. He said he wanted to watch Xiao Jiao grow up and protect her innocence, but he became the person who hurt her the most. Especially her look of disappointment and disbelief made Li Jie feel unspeakably uncomfortable. You know, Xiao Jiao trusted him the most before. Xiao Jiao looked at Li Jie sitting in the car and Zhou Ziu leaning in his arms, feeling heartbroken and unable to breathe. It's indeed her. In fact, Xiao Jiao had already had a vague premonition, but he never dared to think about it deeply. When Song Qinjiao came to see her tonight, she still refused to believe it. She didn't believe Song Qinjiao, but she believed Li Jie. But now that she has seen it with her own eyes, she has to believe it. Li Jie really lied to her. He cheated. Xiao Jiao took one last look at the boy she liked and trusted the most, then looked at the girl in his arms, then turned and left. When Zhou Ziu touched Xiao Jiao's cold eyes, she subconsciously avoided it for a moment. When she came back to her senses, she saw that Xiao Jiao had already left. Honey, hurry up and catch up. She found that Li Jie was still dazed and didn't know what he was thinking, so she gave him a gentle push and reminded him. Li Jie came to his senses and realized that he was still hugging Zhou Ziu. And this scene happened to be witnessed by Xiao Jiao with his own eyes. He couldn't help but feel a headache and extremely depressed. He was deliberately planning, no, he had done so many things before just to avoid the scene from happening. But it happened anyway. Li Jie now even thinks about killing Song Qinjiao. Everything was originally planned, but it was because this guy jumped out that Xiao Jiao was so hurt. Ziu, be obedient and don't go back to school yet. Go to the city to avoid the limelight for a few days. Then I will find a solution, Li Jie told Zhou Ziu again. He had a feeling that things would cause a big fuss tonight. Husband, stop worrying about me and hurry up and chase someone. Zhou Ziu didn't expect that at this time, Li Jie was still caring about her feelings. She said, getting off him and sitting back in the driver's seat. Okay, I'm leaving, take care of yourself. Li Jie reached out and hugged her again, then opened the door and got out of the car, chasing Xiao Jiao. Watching Li Jie's figure gradually run away until he could no longer see it, Zhou Ziu withdrew his gaze. She had always obeyed Li Jian, but this time she didn't want to listen to him. Ever since she got together with Li Jie, Zhou Ziu had thought that one day their affairs would be exposed. She thought about how to deal with it many times, but she never thought about escaping. Zhou Ziu knew that Li Jie asked her to avoid the limelight because he wanted to protect her and prevent her from getting hurt. But she didn't want to escape, she wanted to face it with him. She, Shen Yu, has grown up with other people's strange eyes and criticisms, so how can she be afraid of some rumors on campus? Li Jie chased her very quickly, and although Xiao Jiao tried her best to run, he soon caught up with her and grabbed her arm from behind. Jiao Bao! Let me go, Xiao Jiao cried and shook his hand away. Seeing Xiao Jiao crying so hard, Li Jie felt unspeakable pain in his heart. He reached out and pulled her into his arms, holding her tightly. Li Jie, don't touch me, let me go, you bastard, Xiao Jiao cried, hitting him, pushing him, and struggling violently. Li Jie hugged Xiao Jiao tightly and let her beat and scold him, but he never let go. Instead, he hugged her tighter and tighter. After struggling for a long time, Xiao Jiao found that she couldn't break free, and cried in frustration, Li Jie, you know how to bully me. Seeing Xiao Jiao crying so hard that she couldn't stop crying, Li Jie felt extremely distressed. He hugged her tightly, caressed her back and head, and comforted her softly. Jiao Bao, I was wrong, I'm sorry for you, please stop crying, okay. But the more Li Jie comforted her, the harder Xiao Jiao cried. In the end, there was nothing he could do, so Li Jie had no choice but to bury Xiao Jiao's head in his arms and let her cry for a while to vent her emotions first. Xiao Jiao cried for more than 40 minutes, until she was tired from crying, her voice became hoarse from crying, and she couldn't cry anymore. Jiao Bao, let's go home, Li Jie wanted to hug Xiao Jiao, but she resisted him. I won't, go back, Xiao Jiao sobbed and choked. After saying that, she looked at Li Jie hopefully, old husband, can you break up with her? I will forgive you. Although Xiao Jiao said I forgive you, her eyes were full of pleading, like an abandoned kitten, pitifully trying to regain the favor of its owner. Li Jie was stunned. He had previously thought about how Xiao Jiao would react after confessing to him, crying and making a fuss, beating him and scolding him, and breaking up with him decisively. But she never thought that she would beg him so humbly. Is this still the arrogant girl? Seeing Xiao Jiao like this, Li Jie's heartache and pity had reached the extreme. He really wanted to promise her anything, as long as she didn't do this. But he couldn't do it. Because he can't lie to her anymore. He really couldn't do it for him and Zhou Ziyu to break up like this. Seeing that Li Jie remained silent, Xiao Jiao's originally hopeful eyes gradually dimmed, and his expression gradually changed from pleading to despair. Li Jie, please let me go, Xiao Jiao's voice was soft but decisive. When Li Jie heard this, he hugged her a little tighter. How could he let go at this time? I told you to let me go. After the words fell, Xiao Jiao bit him hard on the shoulder. Li Jie groaned in pain, but instead of letting go of Xiao Jiao, he gently stroked her head and encouraged her to bite harder. The physical pain will make him feel less guilty and uncomfortable. Xiao Jiao was biting with all his strength, as if he wanted to vent all his grievances, sadness, and anger. Soon her mouth was filled with a fishy, salty taste, it was blood. Xiao Jiao felt a sudden pain in her heart and relaxed. You don't want me anymore, why don't you let me go? Jiao Bao, when did I say I don't want you anymore? I will never let you leave me. Even if you want to leave, I will never let you go, Li Jie said sincerely. You don't let me leave, what about Zhou Ziyu? You don't let her leave either, right? Seeing that Li Jie was silent again, Xiao Jiao immediately understood what he was thinking and sneered, Li Jie, you still want to hug me, right? What you think is really beautiful. Let me go, Xiao Jiao shouted, broke free from his restraints, turned around and left. If Li Jie really doesn't want to let go, Xiao Jiao won't be able to break away. But he didn't want to push her too hard. Xiao Jiao's character is soft but not tough. Blindly forcing others will only make her have a rebellious mentality. At least she hasn't broken up yet, which is rare. Li Jie took 2 quick steps and caught up with Xiao Qiao. Why do you always follow me? Xiao Qiao wanted to get rid of Li Jie, but found that he was like a dogskin plaster. He followed her wherever she went, and she couldn't get rid of her no matter how hard she went. Just leave me alone to calm down, okay? I don't trust you. Xiao Qiao is emotionally unstable now. How can Li Jie trust her to wander around alone? I don't need you to worry. You go worry about your Zhou, Xiao Qiao said with a cold face. Stop following me, I don't want to see you. Seeing Xiao Qiao's sharp words, Li Jie didn't care, but rather enjoyed it. She also gets jealous, which is a good thing. Finding that she couldn't get away from Li Jie, Xiao Qiao simply walked towards the dormitory. She didn't believe it. She entered the dormitory. How dare Li Jie break into the girls' dormitory and chase her in? The two walked in tandem on campus, attracting attention. Xiao Qiao's eyes were red and swollen from crying. It was obvious at a glance that the two were quarreling. Arriving at the girls' dormitory on the 4th floor of the school, Xiao Qiao ran in quickly without looking back. Li Jie glanced at the dormitory and sitting in the concierge and could only stop outside the door of the dormitory building. He really didn't dare to break into the girls' dormitory. But it doesn't matter if he can't get in, he can wait for Xiao Qiao to come out. At 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock, there are many girls coming and going in and out of the girls' dormitory. Some go to the bathroom to take a shower with a wash basket, some come back from the classroom or library with books in their arms, and some come back from self-study after a date, and some are raped by their boyfriends. Sent back. When they notice a boy standing in front of the dormitory door, they will subconsciously take a look, and then realize, isn't this Li Jie? Li Jie is really an idol and a godlike figure in school now. It is estimated that no student does not know him, and there are very few people who do not know him. Many people were curious when they saw him standing downstairs in the girls' dormitory building late at night. Li Jie didn't care at all about the curious looks and pointing comments from the girls who came and went. He knew that after tonight, he would become famous in school again. However, what he got was not a good reputation, but a bad reputation, a scumbag who cheated on others and acted in 2 different ways. Under a tree on the roadside not far away, Song Chenjiao looked at Li Jie standing despondently downstairs in the girls' dormitory. He felt indescribable joy and contentment in his heart, and the corners of his mouth could not help but raise slightly. Boy, you are riding 2 boats, and the boat has capsized, right? Just stand downstairs. Chenjiao, what are you doing standing here? Suddenly he was slapped hard from behind, and Song Chenjiao was shocked and his heart skipped a beat. He turned around and saw that it was Dong Lei, the boss of their physical education department. Brother Lei, Song Chenjiao smiled and greeted the other party. Dong Lei was over 2 meters tall and extremely burly, with fists like sandbags and thighs thicker than an average boy's waist. He followed Song Chenjiao's gaze and saw Li Jie standing downstairs in the girls' dormitory. What's going on? He asked. That kid Li Jie deceived other girls' feelings and had both feet in the same boat. He was exposed on the forum. The girls also recognized his true colors and broke up with him, Song Chenjiao said happily. When Dong Lei heard this, he frowned and said, you weren't the one who broke the news, right? Although he looks tall and thick, he has a delicate mind. Of course it's not me. He's so arrogant every day. Who knows who he offended? Song Chenjiao was stunned for a moment and said a little unnaturally. It's better if it's not you. Dong Lei heard that Song Chenjiao's words were insincere. He glanced at Song Chenjiao and said in a warning tone, Li Jie is not that easy to mess with. Song Chenjiao heard this and disagreed. What's so great about Li Jie is that he opened a small company with his family's money. Even if he offends him, what will happen? Dong Lei glanced at Song Chenjiao and shook his head in his heart. It would be too easy for the boss of a local star company like Li Jie to deal with an ordinary student. This guy Song Chenjiao is looking for bad luck. Xiao Jiao, what's wrong with you? Seeing Xiao Jiao's eyes swollen from crying and walking in dejectedly, the girls in the dormitory were very surprised and gathered around with concern. Did someone bully you? Tell me who bullied you, and I will help you teach him a lesson, Zhang Qiang said distressedly. This was the first time she saw Xiao Jiao like this. Bai Wei hugged Xiao Jiao comfortingly, came to the bed and sat down, and then asked speculatively, Xiao Jiao, did you have a fight with Li Jie? Seeing that Xiao Jiao didn't speak, Bai Wei immediately understood that the two of them were really quarreling. Did you really quarrel? Zhang Qiang was surprised. Not only she, but also Lu Li and Shen Man were surprised. Because in their impression, Xiao Jiao and Li Jie had a very good relationship. They were so inseparable that they couldn't get enough of being together every day. Not to mention quarrels, they never even had minor conflicts. Only Zhang Yu was not too surprised, but rather thoughtful. Xiao Jiao, why did you and Li Jie quarrel? Bai Wei continued to ask. Yes, why did you quarrel? Zhang Qiang also asked. But in the face of the two people's concerns and inquiries, Xiao Jiao just lowered his head and said nothing. Bai Wei and Zhang Qiang asked for a long time, but they didn't ask a word. Finally, Zhang Qiang became anxious. I'm going to find Li Jie and ask him to apologize to you. It must be his fault for making you so sad. After she finished speaking, she hurriedly walked out. Don't go, don't look for him, Xiao Jiao finally spoke, her voice hoarse, revealing a sense of weakness and powerlessness. Xiao Jiao, what happened to you two? Zhang Qiang stopped. But Xiao Jiao stopped talking again. At this time, a girl came outside the door, took a curious look into the dormitory, and then asked Zhang Qiang in a low voice, is Xiao Jiao okay? Su Jian, do you know anything? Zhang Qiang asked, staring at the girl. This girl named Su Jian is also from Zhang Qiang's tourism management class 1. You don't know yet? Just go to the school forum and find out. I really didn't expect Li Jie to. Su Jian said mysteriously and hesitated. Zhang Qiang stopped asking, went directly to the computer, and logged into the school forum. Seeing this, Zhang Yu, Lu Li, Shen Man and others also gathered around. Only Bai Wei stayed with Xiao Jiao. After reading the most popular post on the school forum, Zhang Qiang, Lu Li, and Shen Man were all shocked. No way, Lu Li said a little unconvinced. Zhang Qiang and Shen Man couldn't believe it either. A good boy like Li Jie can also cheat and act in two different situations. Xiao Jiao, is it true? Li Jie really hooked up with that Zhou Ziyu? Zhang Qiang asked. Xiao Jiao still didn't speak, but tears flowed out again. Seeing Xiao Jiao's reaction, several girls still didn't understand that the rumors were true and Li Jie had really cheated on her. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 217. Li Jie, this bastard, how could he do such a thing? Fortunately, I always thought he was a good man, Zhang Qiang said extremely angrily. Yes, how could Li Jie do this? Xiao Jiao is so kind, how can he bear to hurt her? Lu Li and Shen Man also said this. Li Jie had given them a very good impression before, so when they found out that he could cheat, it was even more difficult to accept. After Bai Wei learned that Li Jie had cheated on her, she felt an outspoken disappointment in her heart. She would not have been so disappointed if she had not known about the cheating on the boy. But Li Jie was different. She never expected that such a good boy like Li Jie would be so disappointed. He can also cheat. She could see that Li Jie liked Xiao Jiao from the bottom of his heart. Even so, he couldn't resist the temptation of the outside world. Do men become bad when they have money? Li Jie cannot be a special case. No, I'm going to find Li Jie and beat him up, Zhang Qiang stood up suddenly and said angrily. After saying that, she was about to walk out. Xiao Qiang, I beg you, don't go to her, don't make the matter bigger, Xiao Jiao cried. Zhang Qiang was stunned for a moment. Xiao Jiao, you are still worried about Li Jie, afraid of making things worse, but he cheated on you, and he hurt you. Yes, Li Jie has hurt you like this, what else do you care about him? According to me, Xiaoxian should give him a good beating to vent your anger. Lu Li and Shen Man also said. Actually, this can't be entirely blamed on Li Jie. Among the voices criticizing Li Jie, Zhang Yu said a word for him. Zhang Qiang, Lu Li, Shen Man, and others immediately glared at her. Zhang Yudu, at this time, you are still speaking for Li Jie. You have always spoken for him. Have you accepted his money and been bribed by him? Zhang Qiang asked her. I didn't, don't talk nonsense, Zhang Yu said with a guilty conscience. She had received red envelopes from Li Jie and many gifts from him, but what she said just now meant that she had not received any money. Think about it, if a beauty like Zhou Ziyu takes the initiative, which man can resist her? Li Jie just made the same mistake that all men make. Zhang Yuchen felt a little sympathy for Xiao Jiao. She guessed that there would be problems between Xiao Jiao and Li Jie sooner or later, but she didn't expect that the person who would intervene would be Zhou Ziyu. This love rival is so strong that she doesn't think highly of Xiao Jiao at all. After listening to Zhang Yu's words, Zhang Qiang was stunned for a moment, and actually felt that there was some truth in it. She had met Zhou Ziyu in the dormitory party. She was indeed so beautiful, sexy, and charming that she would be a disaster. If she were a man. It's not right. Zhang Qiang reacted, Zhang Yu, you are using strong words to make excuses. No matter what, Li Jie cannot cheat on you. Lu Li said a little hard to understand, given Zhou Ziyu's conditions, there is no shortage of people chasing her. It shouldn't be difficult to find a boyfriend with good conditions. Why would she seduce Li Jie and steal someone else's boyfriend? Zhang Yu sneered, it's not difficult for her to find a boyfriend with good conditions, but with such good conditions as Li Jie, where can she find one? Li Jie used to make millions a year by writing novels. Now that he has started a game company, how can he make tens of millions a year? And how old is Li Jie? He is only 20 years old this year. He will be very successful in the future. May become a business elite. Besides, where did the car she is driving come from? Where did her brand name clothes and high-end cosmetics come from? She said before that her boyfriend bought them for her, but now it seems that Li Jie didn't buy them for her. Zhang Yu only regretted that he didn't have Zhou Ziyu's conditions, otherwise she would have snatched it away earlier. Last year I reminded Xiao Jiao to be careful about Zhou Ziyu, but she didn't listen. You see, something happened now. Ah, Xiao Jiao suddenly shouted a little crazy. What's wrong, Xiao Jiao? Bai Wei and Zhang Qiang asked nervously and concernedly. Xiao Jiao ignored them and fell into deep thought. After listening to Zhang Yu's words, Xiao Jiao suddenly understood everything. That Zhou Ziyu has long been thinking about Li Jie. It's just that she has been by Li Jie's side, and he can't find a chance. But during the winter vacation last year, as soon as she left, the other party took advantage of her. When Li Jie went to see her on Valentine's Day, she vaguely felt that something was wrong with him. He took her to watch fireworks and said some strange words. I think Zhou Ziyu had succeeded by then. Xiao Jiao really regretted it to the extreme. If she had known that this would happen, she would not have gone home even if she would have fallen out with her family. If she went home with Li Jie to celebrate the new year, how could he be snatched away by that Zhou Ziyu? At this time, the dormitory door was pushed open, and two girls stood at the door and poked their heads. Zhang Qiang frowned and walked over. What do you want? A girl glanced at Xiao Jiao and said tentatively, we saw Li Jie standing downstairs. Li Jie is downstairs. He stood there for a while. Did Xiao Jiao and Li Jie have a conflict? It's nothing. Zhang Qiang dismissed the two girls and closed the door. Li Jie is really standing downstairs. Lu Li stood at the window and looked down. Zhang Yu and Shen Man also came to the window and looked downstairs. The second floor was not high, and they could even see Li Jie's expression clearly. This guy Li Jie still has the nerve, Zhang Qiang said angrily. He probably never left, Zhang Yu said. Then what does he mean? Lu Li asked. Xiao Jiao, does Li Jie want to break up with you? Bai Wei asked Xiao Jiao warmly. Xiao Jiao shook his head slightly. Then he is willing to change his mind and break up with Zhou Ziyu. Xiao Jiao shook his head again. When Zhang Qiang saw this, he immediately exploded. He still wants to occupy both ends. What he wants is so beautiful. Yes, that's too much. How shameless. Lu Li and Shen Man also said angrily. Seeing that the public's anger is too strong, Zhang Yu did not dare to speak for Li Jie anymore. Bai Wei thought for a while and asked, Xiao Jiao, what do you think? Do you want to break up with Li Jie? Xiao Jiao hesitated and whispered, I don't know. There is nothing to hesitate about. Break up with him, Zhang Qiang said angrily. Separate. Zhang Yu glanced at Zhang Qiang. Where are you from? What's the meaning? That Zhou Ziyu, now she can't wait for Xiao Jiao and Li Jie to break up. As long as they break up, she can smoothly ascend to the throne, and the mistress will become the main palace. Persuade Xiao Jiao to break up and take the initiative to give up your position in the main palace. Are you really not an undercover agent sent by someone else? You. Zhang Qiang was speechless by her rebuke. But we can't just endure it, right? Xiao Jiao, are you okay? The dormitory door was pushed open again. After Zhang Qiang sent people away again, Bai Wei said, the news must have spread, and people will definitely come to inquire about the news. Xiao Qiang, please guard the door. Don't let anyone come in and disturb Xiao Jiao again. Zhang Qiang nodded and said, don't worry, I will guard the door and no one will disturb Xiao Jiao. What should Li Jie do? Zhang Yu looked downstairs again. What should I do? Cold salad, Zhang Qiang said angrily. If he likes to stand, let him stand. If he can, let him stand all night. News or scandals spread incredibly fast. The main reason is that the news is really exciting. Li Jie is the school's male god and idol, and his relationship with Xiao Jiao has always been the center of the topic and the focus of everyone's attention. Now the male god and idol are cheating on each other, the golden boy and the beautiful girl are about to break up, and the person who intervenes is another goddess-level figure in the school, Zhou Ziyu. This is too topical. So the news spread quickly in the school. After Li Jie stood downstairs in the girls' dormitory for a while, more and more girls looked at him strangely and pointed at him. Then many classmates and friends in the class rushed over after hearing the news. He's Hegang, Wang Haiheng, Yang Hao, Lin Jing, Cheng Xiang, etc. all came. A group of boys gathered at the door of the girls' dormitory, which attracted even more attention. He's Hegang, Yang Hao and others looked at Li Jie and hesitated to speak. Finally, He's Hegang spoke first. Jizi, are you really like that, Zhou Ziyu? He's Hegang still didn't believe that Li Jie would cheat on someone, and that a girl as beautiful and elegant as Zhou Ziyu would become a third party and steal someone else's boyfriend. Li Jie glanced at He's Hegang, then at everyone, nodded, and admitted frankly, yes, it's what you think. When things have reached this point, there is no need to hide anything. Hearing Li Jie admit it, He's Hegang, Lin Jing, and Cheng Xiang looked at each other and didn't know what to say. Brother Jie, you are so awesome, Yang Hao said with admiration. Zhou Ziyu is in our school. She is the goddess in the hearts of boys. She is actually willing to be your lover. Jizi, you are really a master of love. It's hard for us to have just one girlfriend, but you actually have two girlfriends at the same time, Wang Haiheng joked with a smile. His tone was sour and full of jealousy. He's Hegang frowned and said, What about Xiao Jiao? Although he regarded Li Jie as a brother, he really couldn't stand his behavior. He felt that he was too dissatisfied. He had such a good girlfriend as Xiao Jiao and still provoked other girls. I will definitely not break up with Xiao Jiao. What about Zhou Ziyu? What should I do? We won't break up either. As a man, you have to take responsibility. Since you provoke other girls, you must be responsible to the end. You must not give up after starting a mess. Li Jie said this very seriously and with righteousness. He Zhigang, Lin Jing, and Cheng Xiang were all stunned by his shamelessness. Is this called responsibility and responsibility? Is this called taking responsibility? You obviously want to occupy both ends, hugging me from the left to the right? He Zhigang looked at Li Jie's expression and really wanted to beat him. Cheng Xiang thought for a moment and said, Jizi, I don't think it's a good idea to do this, but as a man, I quite understand you. If it were me, I would want both. Yang Hao expressed his support unequivocally. I think Brother Zhe is right to do this, especially a man. It's not like Brother Zhe can't afford two girlfriends. Since both Xiao Jiao and Zhou Ziyu like him, let's have both of them, so as not to make the other one sad if he chooses one. He Zhigang frowned at Yang Hao's stupid remarks. Wang Zhaiheng looked at Yang Hao with contempt and disdain. In order to get some benefits from Li Jie, this kid really didn't want any criticism. Jizi, if you do this, will Xiao Jiao agree? He Zhigang didn't think that a girl as proud as Xiao Jiao would agree to share a man with another girl. She didn't agree, so I'm standing here. After Li Jie finished speaking, he glanced at everyone and said, Okay, Brother Gang and Hazi, please go back. As they gathered here, more people gathered around to watch the excitement. Okay, Jizi, let's go back first. He Zhigang, Wang Zhaiheng, Lin Jing, and Cheng Xiang all left, and only Yang Hao stayed. When He Zhigang left, he couldn't help but sigh, Jizi, just do it. If you lose such a good girl like Xiao Jiao, you will regret it. Li Jie glanced at Yang Hao and said, Hazi, you should go back too. Yang Hao said with a playful smile, Brother Jie, just let me stay with you for a while. Okay, if you want to stay here, just stay. Li Jie shook his head. He knew clearly that Yang Hao was just here to get a good impression of him, but his senses for him still improved a lot. School 4th floor, dormitory 408. Three girls, Huo Lily, Cao Xiaoqian, and Song Ziona, were lying on the window, looking at Li Jie standing downstairs and the onlookers. After watching for a while, the three girls turned around and looked at Zhou Ziyu with complicated eyes, hesitant to speak. Zhou Ziyu was sitting in front of the computer writing a novel. She was extremely focused and seemed not to notice the looks her roommates were looking at her at all. Tsuyu, is your mysterious boyfriend Li Jie? The person who asked this question was not Huo Lily and the other three, but Tan Hui. She stared at Zhou Ziyu. Hearing this, Zhou Ziyu stopped typing, turned to meet Tan Hui's gaze, and said calmly, yes, it's Li Jie. Hearing Zhou Ziyu's personal admission, Huo Lily, Cao Xiaoqian, and Song Ziona clearly had the answer in their hearts, but at this moment, they were still shocked. They had made many guesses about Zhou Ziyu's mysterious boyfriend before, but they never thought it would be Li Jie. Li Jie has a girlfriend, and his relationship with Xiao Jiao is well known to the whole school. Besides, Zhou Ziyu and Li Jie don't have much interaction. They are not even friends on the surface, they are just classmates, and their relationship is limited to classmates they know. Also, how could Zhou Ziyu become a third party? In fact, in terms of shock level, Tan Hui was even more shocked than Huo Lily and the others. In the normal college, there are many people who admire Li Jie, and more of them are girls. As for who admires him the most, the number one fangirl is Xiao Jiao, and the second fangirl is Zhou Ziyu. Lu Kaiyu can also be ranked in the top 3. But among these admirers, Tan Hui is definitely not included. When someone has a bad first impression of you, no matter how successful you are in the future, it will be difficult for the other person to really think highly of you. Just like when ordinary people get rich, they will be called bosses or nouveau riche. We are all ordinary people. Why can you get rich but I can't? By ability? What abilities do you, an ordinary person, have? Nothing more than good luck. But being bold, daring, and being able to seize the opportunity is not a kind of ability. Tan Hui and Li Jie have been together for 2 years. In her impression, Li Jie is a very mediocre boy. As for studying well, top students in ordinary private high schools are at the level of top students in key high schools. Therefore, no matter how much Li Jie has changed and achieved this year, Tan Hui's impression of him can only be said to be that he has changed a lot. She has admired him a lot, but she will never admire him because the first impression has been deeply ingrained. So she really couldn't understand why a girl like Zhou Ziyu, who was so beautiful and with such excellent conditions, wanted to be Li Jie's lover. Anyway, if it were her, she definitely wouldn't do it. How could you do this? Tan Hui stared at Zhou Ziyu and asked. For some reason, she felt indescribably angry and felt that Zhou Ziyu had let himself down. Why can't I do this? With a slight smile on her face, Zhou Ziyu said slowly and softly, I just like Li Jie, what's wrong with that? Besides, it's okay if Xiao Qiao questions me. Xiao Hui, what qualifications do you have to question me? Who are you, Li Jie? Seeing the smile on Zhou Ziyu's face, Tan Hui felt her breath holding in her chest. After a few seconds, she sneered and said, Ziyu, don't say it's so nice, do you like Li Jie? You just like his money, right? Yes, I just like Li Jie's money. Zhou Ziyu glanced at Tan Hui, nodded and admitted frankly. She knew that no one would believe her if she said she was not interested in Li Jie's money. Besides, the reason why she chose Li Jie in the first place was indeed largely because he was rich. But I do like him as a person. You don't like Li Jie, but I do. You are willing to degenerate yourself, become a third party for money, and destroy other people's feelings. Whether I fall or not is my own business, so I won't worry about it, Zia Y. Huo Lily, Cao Xiaoqian, and Song Ziona were watching the tit-for-tat confrontation between Tan Hui and Zhou Ziyu, and felt indescribable excitement. The two of them were usually gentle and quiet, but they never expected to quarrel over a man. The key is that neither of them is the man's girlfriend yet. At the end of this quarrel, Zhou Ziyu killed Tan Hui with one sentence. Xiao Hui, you reacted so strongly. Do you regret rejecting Li Jie? But regret is useless. I know Li Jie best. He will never turn back. Don't even think about snatching him back. Even if you want to be the third party, no, there is no chance of being the fourth party. After Tan Hui heard what Zhou Ziyu said, she stared at her with a cold face for more than 10 seconds, and then slowly said, nonsense. After a pause, she said, don't think that anyone is as shameless as you. After saying that, Tan Hui turned around and left the dormitory. Looking at Tan Hui's leaving figure, Zhou Ziyu showed a faint smile on his face and said softly, only those who are told their inner thoughts will become angry and furious. After the words fell, Tan Hui paused. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 218. After Tan Hui left, Huo Lily, Cao Xiaoqian, and Song Ziona looked at each other and didn't know what to say. Zhou Ziyu smiled at them and continued writing the novel, as if his mood was not affected by the quarrel just now. Cao Xiaoqian and Song Ziona picked up the wash basin and went to the washroom to wash up together. After Cao Xiaoqian and Song Ziona left, Huo Lily came to Zhou Ziyu and said with a smile, Ziyu, no matter what others think, I am definitely on your side and supporting you anyway. Thank you, Lily. Zhou Ziyu stopped typing and said with a smile. Ziyu, you are so awesome. What's wrong? We just had winter vacation last year. As soon as Xiao Jiao left, you took down Li Jie. That time I went back to the dormitory to pick up things, and I happened to meet you when you came back. You were on a date with Li Jie, right? Huo Lily said with admiration. Said. Zhou Ziu smiled and said nothing. Huo Lily thought of something again, and said with an ambiguous smile, before, you went to practice driving every night without taking me with you, so you went driving with Li Jie, right? No wonder that time I talked to Ziona about Li Jie and Xiao Jiao driving together, and you helped them cover it up. It turns out that you also like to drive with Li Jie. Okay Lily, stop talking. No matter how generous Zhou was, he was still a little embarrassed by Huo Lily's teasing. Because she said it was very improper to drive. On the way to the bathroom together, Cao Xiaoqian said to Song Ziona, I admire Zia very much. There are many girls in our school who are interested in Li Jie, but she was the only one who dared to grab it, and she got it. Song Ziona said, but I don't think it's good to steal other people's boyfriends. It's not very good, it's a bit immoral. Cao Xiaoqian nodded, and then said, however, if I have Tsuyu's conditions, I will be tempted. After all, Li Jie's conditions are really good, and he is very good to his girlfriend. Look at Tsuyu and Li Jie after getting together with Jie, it can be said that she has everything she wants. Her car costs more than 300,000 yuan, and she also writes books and becomes a writer. When Song Ziona heard this, she suddenly said, I was a little surprised before, why did Zio suddenly think of writing a book? Now it seems that it was probably Li Jie who taught her. It's not very possible, but it is, Cao Xiaoqian said with certainty. Finding a boyfriend like Li Jie is an opportunity to change your destiny. Which girl wouldn't be tempted? As the time approached 11 o'clock, the people watching the excitement gradually dispersed, because the lights were turned off and the building was locked at 11 o'clock. Li Jie said to Yang Hao, Huzi, the building is about to be locked. You should go back. Yang Hao nodded, and then persuaded, Brother Jie, why don't you go back with me? The building is locked. If you stand here, Xiao Jiao won't be able to get out. You don't have to worry about me and go back quickly, Li Jie urged him. Yang Hao said in surprise, Brother Jie, are you really planning to stand there all night? Li Jie shook his head, I'm not going to stand there all night. As long as Xiao Jiao doesn't come out, I will keep standing and waiting. In order to restore Xiao Jiao and restore public opinion, he must make some gestures and suffer some crimes. He stayed here for a night and then convinced Xiao Jiao. People would think that she was moved, instead of just compromising because of money and agreeing to share a man with other girls. In addition, if you suffer a little punishment and suffer a little misfortune, you can still win some sympathy and understanding from the public opinion. Although he cheated on her, at least he was sincere and affectionate, and he was still a good man. He was definitely not an irresponsible scumbag who played with feelings. More than 30 years of life experience tells Li Jie that being able to act and put on a show is very important. What you think is not important. People only see how you do it. Life is a play, and the whole process depends on acting. All successful people are talented actors. What is an actor? Everyone takes a shot to the end without any clicks. The most important point is that Li Jie believes that as long as he keeps standing, Xiao Jiao will definitely come out. He knew Xiao Jiao best. She was a particularly emotional girl who could be moved. She would never bear it. If he stood here all night, he would come out sooner or later. If it were Tan Hui, Li Jie wouldn't be standing here stupidly. Even if she stands there until she dies, she won't come out. Seeing that Li Jie insisted not to go back, Yang Hao nodded and said, Brother Jie, I will go back first. He took 2 steps, suddenly thought of something, turned around and said, by the way, Brother Jie, it seems to be raining tonight. If it rains heavily, You'd better stay away. Li Jie nodded to him, okay, I understand. After April, the south entered a rainy period with many heavy rains. But it's good to have rain. Standing in the rain for a few hours seemed even worse. Li Jie glanced at Yang Hao's leaving figure. Although this boy's purpose was not pure, it was rare for him to tip off the news tonight and to stand with him for so long. At least a qualified dog leg. In fact, what Li Jie didn't know was that there was another person who had been with him for a longer time. Not far away, Song Chenjiao, who was squatting under a tree, stood up. He stared at it for so long, just to see if any girl with a sense of justice would stand up and call Li Jie a scumbag in public. In the end, none, which made him a little disappointed. Moreover, there were a lot of mosquitoes under the tree, and he got several big bites. Look at the weather forecast, there will be heavy rain tonight. If you have the ability, kid, just keep standing, the heavy rain will kill you. When the time reached 11 o'clock, the lights in the entire dormitory building were turned off on time, leaving only the street lights, emitting light. But soon, many windows in the dormitory building were dimly lit again. It was because some students turned on the desk lamps. Although there were no people watching the excitement outside, in the girls' dormitory, many good-looking girls were leaning on the windows and looking down at Li Jie, wondering when he would leave and whether Xiao Qiao would go out. After a while, the last few girls hurried into the dormitory building. The dormitory aunt came out from the concierge and came to the dormitory door to lock the building. The dormitory aunt glanced at Li Jie outside the door and said, Li Jie, why don't you go back? Once the door is locked, Xiao Qiao can't get out even if he wants to. It's useless for you to stand here. Go back to the dormitory. It was such a big deal that even the dormitory aunt knew about it. Auntie, just let me stand here, so that I can feel better, Li Jie said with a forced smile. You, the dormitory aunt shook her head, you said you and Xiao Qiao had such a good relationship before, why do you want to provoke Xiao Zhou again? Look at the trouble now. During the winter vacation last year, when she met Xiao Zhou, she was still thinking about such a beautiful girl. She wondered which boy would be cheaper in the future. Who would have thought that I would be deceived by this kid in front of me? She really couldn't understand why a girl as beautiful as Xiao Zhou wanted to be a third party. Is it just because of money? The door to the dormitory building was closed and locked, leaving only Li Jie standing outside the closed door. Zhang Yu lay down by the window, looked down, then turned around and glanced at Xiao Qiao. The building has been locked, and Li Jie is still standing downstairs. Xiao Qiao sat on the bed holding her legs, her eyes were in a trance, and she didn't know what she was thinking. Zhang Qian glanced at Zhang Yu and said, he can stand if he likes. What do you care about him? Bai Wei also came to the window, glanced at Li Jie downstairs, thought for a while, took out her mobile phone and sent him a text message. Li Jie, please go back first. We will take good care of Xiao Qiao for you. You don't have to worry. You have to think carefully about what you should do in the future. Xiao Qiao is a good girl. I hope you will not let her down. Downstairs, Li Jie smiled after reading the text message from Bai Wei and put away his phone. Xiao Qiao really has a good best friend. Bai Wei's words were tactful, but she was actually trying to persuade him to break up with Zhou Ziyu and get back together with Xiao Qiao. But it was impossible for him to listen to her, and it was impossible for him to leave. When lovers quarrel, the most fearful thing is the Cold War. The Cold War is very hurtful. If one person ignores the other person and ignores the other person, the relationship will wear off over time. Even if they are reconciled, it will be difficult for the relationship to return to its original state. This kind of cheating quarrel is especially serious. So he had to give Xiao Qiao time to calm down, but he couldn't let her calm down for too long, not even overnight. When she is calm, stay with her, downstairs, and care about her. Don't let her think too much, thinking that since he has another woman, he doesn't care about her, doesn't value her, doesn't like her anymore, and doesn't want her anymore. He must let her know that even if he has another woman, he will still like her, care about her, and feel sorry for her just like before. Time passed little by little, and it was quickly approaching 12 o'clock. During this period, girls who came home late occasionally called the door, and the dormitory aunt opened the door for them. At around 11:50, the dormitory aunt opened the door again and let the two girls who had returned late to go in. She said to Ligia, "Ligia, why haven't you gone back yet? It looks like it's going to rain soon." "Yes, it's about to rain." The wind picked up, and dark clouds gathered in the sky. From time to time, a bolt of lightning flashed across the sky, followed by rumbles of thunder. Ligia just smiled at the dormitory aunt and said nothing. Upon seeing this, the dormitory aunt shook her head and locked the door again. The rain came faster than expected. After one thick raindrop fell, more and more raindrops fell, and soon it turned into a heavy downpour. Ligia stood motionless at the door of the girls' dormitory, letting the rain keep falling on him, and soon his whole body was drenched. The material of his clothes clung to his body, and the rain ran down his wet hair. His whole body looked like unspeakable embarrassment. He wiped the rain off his face and looked at a window on the second floor of the dormitory again. Shwe 7th floor, room 406. Yang Hao stood by the window, looking at the heavy rain outside. Brother Zhe isn't still standing there, is he? He's Higang picked up the phone next to the pillow and looked at it, and found that it was already past 12:30, I can't tell for sure. However, even if Jizi is doused, he deserves it. Who made him do such a thing? Wang Zhaihang snorted and said, Jizi is playing a trick. I feel like he's going to overturn if he can't handle it this time. It's not easy to hug him from one side to the other. After saying that, he added in his heart, it was quite a beautiful thought. Room 408, 4th floor. Josiah was also standing by the window. Huo Lily got up from the bed, walked to her side, and glanced at Li Jie, who was standing in the heavy rain downstairs. Tsuyu, if you are worried, go out and take a look and give him an umbrella. Josiah turned around, shook her head slightly at Huo Lily, and then said, it's very late, go to bed. After saying that, she climbed to the upper bunk and got into the bed curtain. Seeing Li Jie standing in the heavy rain, looking so miserable, Josiah felt very distressed and wanted to go out and hug him, but she knew she couldn't go out. This is a matter between him and Xiaoqiao, and she must not participate. Downstairs 210. The rain hit the glass and made a pitter-patter sound. Xiaoqiao still sat on the bed holding her legs, but couldn't help but glance towards the window. Zhang Yu noticed her gaze and couldn't help but feel a little funny. She got up from the bed, came to the window, glanced down, and then exaggeratedly said, the rain was too heavy, like a pouring water. Li Jie was so miserable, he was soaked in water. Oh, with such a heavy rain, you will definitely get sick if it rains for a long time, right? But he deserves it. Who can forgive our little Qiao? Let him be poured to death. Zhang Qiang snorted and said, no one allowed him to be doused. He didn't want to leave. He asked for it. Xiaoqiao, don't be soft-hearted, don't worry about him, just let him stand. He is a big man, what should he be afraid of if he gets wet in the rain? After a while, if you really don't go out, he will leave. After saying that, she glanced at Zhang Yu and said, Zhang Yu, don't think I can't hear it. You are beating around the bush to help Li Jie. You definitely took advantage of Li Jie and were bribed by him. Otherwise, why would you be so helpful? I'm helping Li Jie. I'm helping Xiaoqiao. Okay, Zhang Yu got a little angry. She really confiscated Li Jie's red envelope this time, and even confiscated his gifts. This Zhang Qian was completely wronging her. Zhang Yu doesn't know why she is so concerned about this matter. Maybe she really sympathizes with Xiao Qiao, or maybe she can't stand that Zhou Ziyu and doesn't want her to succeed. And Zhang Qian, don't be too self-righteous. Do you think you are helping Xiao Qiao? You are harming her. Am I harming Xiao Qiao? Don't talk nonsense. Why am I harming Xiao Qiao? Tell me clearly. Zhang Qian became angry when he heard this and sat up from the bed. Xiao Qiao is Li Zhe's girlfriend now, and Zhou Ziyu is just a third party, a mistress, and we can all see that Li Zhe really likes Xiao Qiao, and Zhou Ziyu just took advantage of it. So we should persuade for peace instead of divorce. Let Xiao Qiao reconcile with Li Zhe first, and then find a way to deal with that Zhou Ziyu. Emotions can't solve the problem. That Zhou Ziyu is watching covetously from the side now. If Xiao Qiao listens to you, I broke up with Li Zhe and had a cold war, but someone took advantage of me again. If Xiao Qiao really breaks up with Li Zhe, and such a good boyfriend is really snatched away, Zhang Qian, will you pay it to others? In Zhang Yu's opinion, Li Zhe had already made a gesture. He had been standing at the bottom of the building all night, and he didn't leave despite the heavy rain. Xiao Qiao hurriedly came down the steps. He first secured his seat in the main palace, and then consider how to deal with the mistress. After listening to Zhang Yu's words, Zhang Qian stared at her for more than 10 seconds without speaking. She felt very angry, but Zhang Yu could always tell some nonsense. She knew it was wrong, but she didn't know how to refute it. Then we can't just let Xiao Qiao endure it and then compete with that Zhou Ziyu for favor, right? After hearing this, Zhang Yu nodded seriously. Yes, you are right. After saying that, she glanced at Xiao Qiao and said, if Xiao Qiao still likes Li Zhe and wants to continue to be with him, he can only do as you say. Isn't this too cheap for Li Zhe? Zhang Qian said unwillingly. There's nothing we can do about it. Zhang Yu spread his hands. Otherwise, Xiao Qiao will break up with Li Zhe. This will only make it easier for Zhou Ziyu. The mistress will become the main palace. Besides, as long as Xiao Qiao wins the fight for favor and drives away that Zhou Ziyu, if you still want to be with Li Zhe, then continue to be together. If you don't want to be with him, just dump him and let him lost everything, nothing. Hey, your idea is really great. Doesn't Li Zhe want to occupy both ends and hug him from both sides? Then let him lose both ends and have nothing. But what if we can't get rid of Zhou Ziyu? Should we let Li Zhe hug him and take advantage of him? Why, you don't have confidence in Xiao Qiao, do you think she can't compete with that Zhou Ziyu? Of course I have faith in Xiao Qiao. It's not right? Zhang Qian suddenly reacted, and she was surrounded by Zhang Yu again. She was obviously going to refute Zhang Yu, but why did she turn into a discussion about how to let Xiao Qiao compete for favor? This is all nonsense, I won't tell you anymore, Zhang Qian said angrily. Lu Li and Shen Man couldn't help laughing, and even Bai Wei chuckled a little. They found it very interesting every time they heard Zhang Qian and Zhang Yu quarreling. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 219. Xiao, you are avoiding the important and taking the easy and changing the concept, Bai Wei said with a smile. Zhang Yu's words seemed very reasonable and she was completely considering Xiao Qiao. In fact, she was speaking for Li Zhe from Li Zhe's point of view. If Xiao Qiao compromised, it would be acquiescence and allowed Li Zhe to hug him. Once an established fact is established, it is difficult to change it. How could that Zhou Ziyu be so easy to deal with? Right, I said you were being unreasonable. Look, Sister Wei also supports me. Seeing Bai Wei's support, Zhang Qian suddenly became more energetic. Xiao Qiao suddenly said, Sister Wei, send a message to Li Zhe and ask him to stop standing downstairs. Bai Wei glanced at Xiao Qiao and knew that she had softened her heart, and maybe she was a little swayed by Zhang Yu. But she had already sent a message to Li Zhe just now, and even if she tried to persuade him to leave, he would not leave, and it was even less possible for him to leave now. She finally understood that Li Jie was sure that Xiao Jiao would relent, so he stood downstairs and refused to leave. After Bai Wei sent the message, more than 10 minutes later, Xiao Jiao couldn't help but ask, "Sister Wei, has he replied to your message?" Not yet. Bai Wei picked up the phone and took a look. With such a heavy rain, will Li Jie's phone be damaged? Zhang Yu guessed. The heavy rain was still falling outside. It had been raining for more than an hour, but it showed no sign of decreasing. "Xiao Yu, please check for me to see if he's gone," Xiao Jiao said to Zhang Yu. Zhang Yu got up from the bed, walked to the window and took a look. He didn't leave, he was still standing there. After hearing this, Xiao Jiao said softly, "Yeah." Time passed minute by minute, and another half hour passed, and the rain still stopped. During the past half hour, Xiao Jiao glanced toward the window from time to time. In the end, she couldn't restrain herself anymore, got out of bed, walked slowly to the window, looked down, and saw Li Jie. In the pouring rain, he was extremely miserable. Xiao Jiao had never seen Li Jie look so embarrassed, and felt mixed feelings in his heart. Suddenly, her heart tightened. Unlike Zhou Ziu, who is a bit short-sighted, Xiao Jiao has excellent eyesight. The second floor is not high. Even through the rain curtain, she could faintly notice that Li Jie's face was a little pale and his body was shaking slightly. Xiao Jiao's body couldn't help but tremble. It rained so heavily that he was soaked all over, so he must be very cold. With such heavy rain, if you stand outside for a long time, no matter how healthy you are, you will get sick. Zhang Yu came to her side, glanced out the window, and said softly. She really thought Li Jie was good enough. He had been standing outside for more than 2 hours in such heavy rain. Of course, this is because Li Jie is rich enough and good looking. Otherwise, she would definitely tell him that the cheating scumbag deserves to die. Xiao Jiao looked at Li Jie standing in the heavy rain, and the past scenes appeared in her mind like scenes from a movie. We met him for the first time on the school bus to welcome the new year, received the roses and love letters from him for the first time. He confessed his love to her at the New Year party, he took her to travel to Shanghai, he set off fireworks for her. She and Li Jie have been together for less than a year, but they have so many memories. This was the most exciting, beautiful and unforgettable period of her life. Thinking of this, Xiao Jiao turned around and walked out. She hasn't decided yet whether to break up, but she can't let Li Jie stand like this anymore. She also knew that he was playing a trick. But she would rather let Li Jie succeed than see him suffer. Because she will feel distressed, unspeakable pain. "Xiao Jiao, what are you doing?" Zhang Qian couldn't help but say when she saw Xiao Jiao running out in slippers without even changing her clothes. "You're not going out to see Li Jie, are you?" "Xiao Jiao, you have to think clearly. Once you go out, you will admit defeat." After listening to Zhang Qian's words, Xiao Jiao paused and continued walking out. "Xiao Jiao, wait a minute," Bai Wei called her again. She also felt that Xiao Jiao should not compromise easily. Because once you compromise, the other party is likely to take advantage, and then you can only compromise again and again until you lose your principles and bottom line. But what can be done? Xiao Jiao's state was obviously stuck. Besides, outsiders shouldn't interfere too much in matters like feelings. I just hope that Li Jie can stop it and know how to cherish it. It's raining heavily outside, how can you just run outside like this? Bai Wei picked up her denim jacket and put it on Xiao Jiao, then asked her to change her shoes, and then found an umbrella from the cabinet. "I'll go down with you," she said to Xiao Jiao with a smile. "Sister Wei, you are so kind." Xiao Jiao was very moved and hugged Bai Wei. Bai Wei hugged her and said, "Let's go down." Around 2 a.m. is the lowest temperature of the day. It was probably about 15 degrees at this time. Standing in the heavy rain, with wet clothes clinging to his body, Li Jie couldn't help but shiver as a gust of cold water blew. In 15-degree weather, ordinary people with poor physical fitness are likely to catch a cold even if they take a cold shower, let alone stand in the heavy rain for more than 2 hours. Li Zhejian felt very cold, cold to the core. But he had no idea of leaving. If Xiao Jiao never came out, then he would really stand here all night. Standing here, Li Zhe is not only acting out a bitter trick, but also a bit of self-punishment. No matter how you make excuses, cheating is wrong, and it hurts Xiao Jiao even more. So standing here, suffering a little pain physically, will make you feel better mentally. Just when Li Zhe was thinking wildly and diverting his attention to make him feel less cold, the dormitory door suddenly opened slowly. Li Zhe's spirit suddenly lifted. He looked towards the door of the dormitory and saw Xiao Jiao standing in the door, looking at him with red eyes and a complicated expression. The dormitory ant opened the door while nagging, dissatisfied with being woken up in the middle of the night. Bai Wei took a deep look at Li Zhe, opened the umbrella and handed it to Xiao Jiao, "Come over quickly." Xiao Jiao turned around and nodded to Bai Wei, then held an umbrella and walked towards Li Zhe step by step. Arriving in front of Li Zhe, she raised her umbrella to hold it over his head. "Aren't you standing here just to let me come out? Now that I have come out, you are satisfied now?" She said this in tears, full of grievances. Seeing Xiao Jiao crying again, Li Zhe couldn't help but feel pain in his heart again, and hugged her tightly into his arms. This girl knew that he was playing tricks, yet she jumped into the trap willingly. Bang! The umbrella in Xiao Jiao's hand fell to the ground, and she hugged Li Zhe tightly. The two of them just hugged each other tightly, letting the heavy rain fall on them. Bai Wei stood at the gate, watching the scene quietly. The auntie, the dormitory manager next to her, was also watching, muttering something in her mouth. "Auntie, lock the door, she won't come back after watching for a while," Bai Wei said to the dormitory aunt. The dormitory aunt looked at the two people outside the door again, shook her head, and locked the door again. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn. Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 220. Although it was already past 2 o'clock in the middle of the night, there were still many girls in the dormitory who were still awake. Some girls who gossip about good things are always waiting to see the outcome of the matter. Therefore, the scene where Li Zhe and Xiao Jiao embraced and reconciled caught the eyes of many people. Lu Kaiu stood by the window and looked downstairs with a complicated expression. After learning that Li Zhe had actually cheated on her with Zhou Ziyu, the most beautiful English major, Lu Kaiu was a little confused for a moment. She thought she was the third female, but she never expected that she was the fourth or fifth female. What is most difficult for Lu Kaiu to accept is that Xiao Jiao is just that. Why should Zhou Ziyu be? She was obviously the one who met Li Zhe first. She had been waiting for Li Zhe and Xiao Jiao to break up. Now it seems that even if Li Zhe and Xiao Jiao break up, it won't be her turn. There is already a mistress waiting in line. Lu Kaiu couldn't help but think of the night she and Li Zhe shared the same bed. If she had been bolder and hugged him from behind, the two would have been together long ago. A sentence suddenly flashed through her mind: if you don't fight, you won't have a chance. Maybe it was because she was too embarrassed to save her face to grab it, so she missed the opportunity and was taken advantage of by that Zhou Ziyu. But does she want to rob it now? If you don't grab it, you won't have a chance, but if you do, will you become a mistress? Lu Kaiu fell into hesitation again. Zhang Qian, Lu Li, and Shen Man were also standing by the window. Seeing Li Zhe and Xiao Jiao hugging each other tightly, Lu Li smiled and said, "These two act like they are in an idol drama every day." Shen Man also laughed when he heard this. It's true. If Li Zhe can break up with that Zhou Ziyu, it will be the most perfect ending for the idol drama. Zhang Qian glanced at the two of them. Why do I think you are all on Li Zhe's side? Lu Li and Shen Man looked at each other and smiled. No way. We are all on Xiao Qiao's side. Yes. We all support Xiao Qiao. 406, 7th floor. Yang Hao hadn't slept yet. When he heard the cell phone vibrating next to his pillow, he immediately picked it up. After taking a look at the newly sent text message, a smile suddenly appeared on Yang Hao's face, and he couldn't help shouting, "Brother Zhe is awesome." The conversation with Yang Hao and Wang Zhaiheng, two braggarts and nonsense, lasted until almost 2 o'clock. He Ji had just fallen asleep when he was woken up again. "Hazi, why are you shouting if you don't sleep?" Not only was he Zhigang awakened, but Lin Jing, Wang Zhaiheng and Chen Boyun were also awakened. Xiao Qiao came out, brother Zhe took him away, Yang Hao said excitedly. After hearing what Yang Hao said, he Zhigang and Wang Zhaiheng were a little in disbelief. "Hazi, how did you know?" he Zhigang asked. "Isn't Ziona also living on the 4th floor? I'll ask her to help me keep an eye on brother Zhe's situation." Having said this, Yang Hao paused. "Xiao Na told me that Xiao Qiao hugged brother Zhe after she went out." Lin Jing said, "So the two of them have reconciled?" Yang Hao nodded, "It must have been reconciled. Brother Zhe is so awesome. Hug him from left to right. Xiao Qiao and Zhou Ziyu are both great beauties." After listening to what Yang Hao said, he Zhigang started to doubt his life. It is incredible that such a beautiful woman as Zhou Ziyu would become a third party, a mistress. Now even a proud girl like Xiao Qiao would compromise and agree to share her man with other girls. What's wrong with this world? He couldn't even find a girlfriend, but Li Jie could hug her left and right, and both of them were very beautiful beauties. Yes. Li Jie is much more handsome than him, but he's not earth-shatteringly handsome, right? The only reasonable reason is that Li Jie is rich, too rich. He Zhigang couldn't help but remember that he had a chat with Li Jie some time ago and said that he felt there was a big gap between him and Huo Menjian. Li Jie joked that the difference was actually not big, just a little money difference. Now think about it, this is not a joke, this is the truth. If he was as rich as Li Jie, would he not have the confidence to pursue Huo Menjian? At this time, Wang Zhaiheng's heart felt more like running past 10,000 grass and mud horses. This TM works too. He was sour and jealous to the extreme. Li Jie could hug him from left to right, and Xiao Qiao, Zhou Ziyu and Lu Kaiu also wanted to throw themselves into his arms. And why couldn't he even handle He Lu? These women are greedy for money. Are you talking about English major Zhou Ziyu? What happened to her and Li Jie? Chen Boyun suddenly asked Yang Hao. Why don't you know? Yang Hao glanced at Chen Boyun's bunk. Chen Boyun and the five of them didn't get along, and they rarely even spoke to each other. She is with brother Zhe. How is this possible? Chen Boyun said in a disbelieving tone. Did you lie to me? Don't Li Jie have a girlfriend? So brother Zhe is awesome, Yang Hao said in a proud tone. Then Zhou Ziyu and that Xiao Qiao are all together with Li Jie. How about it, do you think you're cool? I can't believe that Zhou Ziyu is like this, Chen Boyun said with a sigh. What's wrong with you? Do you like her? Yang Hao asked. I like her? I have a girlfriend. Chen Boyun paused and said, a friend of mine likes her very much. He always tells me how good she is and treats her as a goddess. Who would have thought? She has a crush on brother Zhe, that's called discernment, Yang Hao said with a smile. Wang Zhaiheng suddenly sneered, Yang Hao, it's useless for you to flatter Li Jie here, he can't hear you. Yang Hao smiled and said, I'm not flattering you. I really admire brother Zhe. If you have the ability, you can hug him and I will admire you too. Li Jie hugged Xiao Qiao for a while and then let her go. The rain is too heavy and we can't let her get wet here. However, just at this moment, Xiao Qiao's hair and clothes were soaked by the rain. Li Jie picked up the umbrella on the ground, held it above Xiao Qiao's head, reached out to wipe the rain and tears from her face, and then hugged her tightly and walked towards the Zionan gate. Xiao Bao, I'll take you home. When Li Jie stood alone in the rain before, he felt very cold, heart to heart. But after hugging Xiao Qiao, he suddenly felt warm in his heart. She was like a big warm baby, warming his whole body. After the school closes after 12 o'clock, ordinary students cannot leave the school unless there are special circumstances, but Li Jie is not an ordinary student. When I arrived at the small South Gate concierge, I found the security guard on duty. As soon as the security guard heard that Li Jie was leaving school, he immediately opened the door for him. After leaving the school from the small South Gate, Li Jie hugged Xiao Qiao tightly, held an umbrella against the rain, walked for a while, and then returned to the rental house. Opening the door and walking into the room, Li Jie said to Xiao Qiao, "Qiao Bao, go take a bath first to get rid of the cold. Otherwise, you will catch a cold easily if you get caught in the rain." Xiao Qiao shook his head lightly, "It's better that you wash up first. You're more likely to catch a cold after being exposed to the rain for so long." Li Jie glanced at her tentatively and said, "Qiao Bao, how about we wash it together? I really didn't want to be a warm man when I was reborn." Author, Li Yuanzhe. Chapter 221. Xiao Qiao was stunned for a moment, and then said with a cold face, "Li Jie, don't push yourself too far, I haven't forgiven you yet." This guy was too thick-skinned. He made such a big mistake and acted like a normal person, trying to bully her. "Hurry up if I ask you to wash it." Sneeze. Just in the middle of her words, she suddenly sneezed. Li Jie took the opportunity to hug her up and said, "You look like you're about to catch a cold. I'd better take you to take a bath quickly." After saying that, he carried her towards the bathroom. "Li Jie, let me go, I'll tell you to let me go," Xiao Qiao shouted, struggling. Li Jie ignored Xiao Qiao's struggle and resistance, let her beat and shout, hugged her tightly to the bathroom, and then began to take off her clothes. "Ah, what are you doing taking off my clothes? How can you take a shower without taking off your clothes? Besides, if you wear wet clothes for a long time, you will easily catch a cold. Li Jie, don't be like this. Can you go out first? I'll wash it myself. Let's wash it together, I can help you wipe your back. Whoever rubs your back, get out of here right away. Hey, stop. If you do this again, I'll scream." Li Jie turned a deaf ear to Xiao Qiao's feeble resistance. "Call. It's no use screaming at you." As soon as he entered the house, he locked the door. "It's not right." Li Jie suddenly reacted. Why does he look like a villain? It's natural for him to bully his girlfriend. This bath took a bit long. After taking it for more than an hour, Li Jie came out of the bathroom holding Xiao Qiao. Xiao Qiao's eyes were originally red from crying, but now her face is also red. Li Jie put Xiao Qiao on the bed, smiled and reached out to touch her head, but Xiao Qiao avoided his hand with a cold face. "Okay, stop being angry. Look, you've bitten me like this." Li Jie said and touched the tooth mark on his arm, which was still bleeding a little. In the bathroom just now, Xiao Qiao was crying, screaming, kicking, and hitting, but her small body was no match for Li Jie, and he was quickly subdued. Seeing that he was no match for the attack, Xiao Qiao became angry and spoke again. No matter how Li Jie bullied her, she would bite him. Don't get me wrong, Li Jie didn't do anything. He just gave Xiao Qiao a bath and rubbed her back. Xiao Qiao took a look at the tooth mark on Li Jie's arm, and a trace of distress flashed in his eyes, but he said stubbornly, "Who told you to bully me? You deserve it." "How did I bully you?" Li Jie looked innocent. "I'm just helping you take a bath." He really didn't do much. "Then you can't force me," Xiao Qiao said angrily. "It looks like I'm going to get vaccinated tomorrow." Li Jie touched the tooth mark on his shoulder again. This tooth mark was bitten by Xiao Jiao when he got out of the car and chased her. He found out why the president likes to bite people so much. After being with her, Jing was bitten by her. Vaccination. Xiao Jiao reacted and laughed angrily. Li Jie, you are the dog. Jiao Bao, are you really a dragon? Li Jie said with a smile. Get out of here, Xiao Jiao smiled and pushed him hard. She found out why he was so shameless. Jiao Bao, you smiled again, that's great. Li Jie stopped smiling. This was the first time he saw Xiao Jiao smile tonight. After hearing what he said, Xiao Jiao was stunned for a moment, and then stopped laughing. Jiao Bao, I'm going to make some ginger water. It's so late, so you should be hungry. I'll make you some midnight snacks. Li Jie looked at the time and found that it was almost 4 o'clock in the morning. Seeing Li Jie leave the bedroom, Xiao Jiao bit her lip and her eyes became moist again. She really hoped that Li Jie could treat her better. She was so cruel to break up with him. But now, Li Jie first cooked a bowl of brown sugar and ginger soup, then cooked a pack of instant noodles, added some vegetables, and 2 poached eggs. He returned to the bedroom carrying a tray with ginger soup and instant noodles. Putting the tray on the bedside table, Li Jie picked up the ginger soup first. Jiao Bao, let's drink some ginger soup first. Xiao Jiao silently took the ginger soup, stopped drinking it after a few sips, and handed the ginger soup to Li Jie. You should drink some too. Don't really catch a cold after being in the rain for so long. Are you worried about me? Li Jie asked with a smile. Who is worried about you, whether you like to drink or not? Xiao Jiao turned his face away. Li Jie couldn't help but smile on his face when he saw the president's hard-spoken, soft-hearted, and arrogant demeanor. Then he took the ginger soup in her hand and drank it. Li Jie is really not too worried about catching a cold. His physical fitness is much better than that of ordinary people. In addition, he pays great attention to exercise after his rebirth, and his physical fitness is even better. He has not even had a minor illness since his rebirth. After finishing most of the remaining bowl of ginger soup in a few gulps, Li Jie picked up the instant noodles again. Eat something more, you must be hungry. I'm not hungry, so I won't eat. Xiao Jiao glanced at the instant noodles and turned his head away. You really don't want to eat? Don't eat? Then can I eat it? Li Jie picked up a poached egg and took a small bite, then put down the bowl, then reached out to hold Xiao Jiao's head and kissed her. Well. Xiao Jiao opened his eyes and stared at Li Jie, pushing him away with both hands. After more than a minute, Li Jie let her go with a smile. Xiao Jiao spat on the ground a few times, wiped her mouth vigorously and said angrily, Li Jie, how could you do this? You're so dirty. Li Jie looked so funny that you swallowed it? This was not all in vain. Jiao Bao, I've fed you this way before, and you don't think it's dirty. It was before, but now you and that Zhou Ziyu, who knows what you have done? Li Jie was stunned for a moment. He felt like the wheel of the car was pressing on his face. Xiao Jiao reacted, her pretty face turned red, and she quickly explained, don't think blindly, I mean don't kiss me again with the same mouth you've kissed her on. Li Jie looked at him and smiled, okay, then I'll kiss her after I kiss you, and I'll help you get revenge. Li Jie, Xiao Jiao shouted sharply. Then, she held back her tears again, do you really think I'm easy to bully? You're still mentioning her in front of me. Okay, I was wrong. Seeing Xiao Jiao crying again, Li Jie quickly comforted her. After a while, she calmed down, and he said, Jiao Bao, eat the noodles. Don't eat it, Xiao Jiao pushed the noodle bowl away. If you don't eat, then I will have to feed you again, Li Jie threatened. Xiao Jiao glanced at him, took the noodle bowl angrily, and started eating in small bites. But she really didn't have much appetite. She only ate half of the small bowl of noodles, and then she couldn't eat any more. As a result, Li Jie ate most of the remaining bowl of noodles. Xiao Bao, you dislike me, but I don't dislike you, Li Jie said with a smile while eating noodles. Xiao Jiao glared at him hatefully and then refrained from saying, Li Jie, can you please give me a little face? Want face? How can you hug me to the left or right if you want to lose face? Throwing money and stalking are the two best ways to chase girls. If you have both at the same time, you'll be fine. Compared to Lu, who has a net worth of tens of billions, he can still endure being yelled at by Sister Li Gang with foul language on the phone. Li Jie asked himself whether he was still far behind. After finishing the noodles, Li Jie looked at the time again and found that it was almost 5 a.m. Xiao Bao, it's very late, let's go to bed. Who is sleeping with you? Xiao Jiao picked up a pillow and threw it at him. Get out of here. Li Jie hugged the pillow and said, Xiao Jiao, you won't let me sleep in the living room, will you? Instead of sleeping in the living room, you still want to sleep in the bedroom. Get out of here quickly. Xiao Jiao grabbed Li Jie's arm and pushed him out. Xiao Bao, you can't do this. Li Jie remained motionless. How could he go out? If he did, tonight would be in vain. There is no bed in the living room, only a small sofa. Humph, for someone like you who has made mistakes, it would be nice to have a sofa to sleep on. I have stood in the rain for so long. If I don't get enough rest, I will get sick easily. Xiao Bao, you won't bear it, right? I can't bear it, you deserve it. After pushing for a long time, Xiao Jiao was exhausted and sweating, but could not push Li Jie out. Li Jie, you're not going out, are you? Okay, then I'll go sleep in the living room. She picked up the quilt and walked out. Li Jie hugged her quickly and said, Xiao Bao, let's all sleep in the bedroom. Why sleep on the sofa when you have a bed, right? I promise not to bully you, okay? Promise. What guarantee do you have? Xiao Jiao looked distrustful. After discovering Li Jie's cheating, his credit with her was ruined. I want to bully you, I am a puppy, Li Jie swore to the lamp. Seeing that she was still very doubtful, he added, Xiao Bao, think about it, there is no time when my words don't count. In the bathroom just now, if you didn't let me, I didn't force it, right? Xiao Jiao thought about it and realized that apart from this cheating, Li Jie had never cheated on her. Okay, she reluctantly agreed. However, you sleep on the left side and I sleep on the right side, 1/2 for each. You are not allowed to cross the line, or I will kick you down. Okay, I'll do whatever you want, Li Jie smiled and nodded. The two got on the bed and turned off the lights. Xiao Jiao looked to the left and found Li Jiejin lying obediently by the bed. He felt relieved, turned to his side and closed his eyes. After crying all night and staying up all night, she was really tired. But just when Xiao Jiao was about to fall asleep, she felt someone hugging her from behind. Xiao Jiao suddenly woke up. Li Jie, you don't want to be a human being anymore, right? She was extremely angry. Who just vowed to bully her like a puppy, and how long did it take for him to regret it? Xiao Jiao struggled and wanted to kick Li Jie down. Li Jie hugged Xiao Jiao tightly, smiled, and then whispered woof in her ear. There is no way a beast is worse than a beast. He said that if he wanted to convince Xiao Jiao, he must sleep with her. There is another chapter to come, it will be very late.